The story kicks off in the main square of the Andalusian Empire, where heavily armed soldiers are standing guard in a tight perimeter. The mood is definitely not great because in the middle of all this, a very pretty princess is lying on a bed, but the situation is tight. Her wrists and ankles are tied down with heavy iron chains. King Honorius looks at her with a frown and turns to a guy in a cloak behind him, Grandmaster Men. The king mutters that the princess is ready to be sacrificed, but he's clearly nervous. He asks if they are actually sure the Black Dragon can be taken down in just one hit. Grandmaster Men gives a calm, confident smile, basically telling the king to relax. He says the foolish dragon is coming all this way just to snatch the princess, and it shouldn't be able to cause much trouble. Suddenly, the citizens outside the town start pointing at the sky and gasping. A dragon! It's a dragon! The Black Dragon, Waterloo, flies straight toward the bed where the princess is trapped. The soldiers in the square start shouting frantically that the dragon has arrived. With one easy swipe of its claw, the dragon scoops up the unconscious princess. Grandmaster Men points his staff and barks an order. Now attack! On his command, the soldiers let a huge wave of arrows fly. However, the dragon just flaps its powerful wings and zooms into the sky, dodging everything like it's nothing. From the ground, Grandmaster Man isn't giving up. He activates a magic circle beneath his feet, and a streak of bright violet energy shoots out. It hits the dragon right on its wing, but it doesn't seem to do much, leaving the Grandmaster looking a little less confident than before. The dragon barely felt the attack and kept flying toward the distant mountains. Eventually, he reached a dark cave and gently dropped the princess on the ground. Then, his own massive body collapsed right next to her, knocking him out cold. After some time, the dragon's red eyes slowly opened. He immediately started making angry, muffled growling sounds like he was cursing. If you could translate his dragon noises into human speech, he was basically saying, "Who the hell dumped water on my power strip? I was ranked number 1. Damn it." But instead of a cool hero voice, all that came out was a mess of weird dragon sounds. Ow, 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 do. The person now stuck in the body of the Black Dragon, Waterloo, suddenly froze. Wait, what was that sound? He wondered. He tried to scratch his chin in confusion, but he realized his chin was now a scaly snout. He looked down and saw claws. What are these? Whose claws are these? He tried to take a step, but being a giant lizard is harder than it looks. He tripped, launched into the air, and slammed face first into the cave floor with a loud crash. Ouch! He slowly lifted his head and saw his reflection in a puddle. A very stunned silence followed. A pair of teary dragon eyes stared back at him. Did I die in the real world and get reincarnated as a dragon? He actually started to cry. Why? Why do I have to be an evil dragon of all things? Suddenly, a sound nearby made him turn his head. He saw a pair of pale, thin feet tied up in iron cuffs. He looked up and realized it was the princess he had rescued earlier. He hesitated. Hey, are you okay? No response. He closed his eyes and thought hard. This doesn't look good. She looks seriously ill. Should I try CPR or something? But before he could try any dragon-style first aid, a bunch of system messages started flashing in front of his eyes. Ting! The system notifications started popping up like annoying ads on a phone. First, the War and Plunder system checked in. Then the Evolution Modification system said hello. And finally, the Evil Villain system joined the party. The dragon's eyes went wide. What the hell? Why are there so many? He started smirking to himself. Unless I'm the chosen one from the legends? The universe apparently heard him because a new message appeared. Ting! Too many systems detected. Starting fusion. A second later, ting! Fusion complete. New system activated. Supreme Evil Dragon War Plunder Evolution. Self-modifying God tier system. That is a mouthful, so the nickname Evil Dragon system was set. The dragon was so excited he started making weird noises again. Ow, ow, ooh. What he actually meant was, what does this thing even do? The system calmly told him he didn't need to speak out loud. It could read his thoughts directly. Then it laid out the rules. Get affection points from special female NPCs to unlock abilities. Spend points to modify his dragon body parts. Kill good guys or players to earn points. Get 50% of an enemy's points by defeating them. The dragon froze. Wait, players? NPCs? Is this the real world or a video game? The system hit him with a classic. Ting! Access denied. Level 2 low. But it did add one interesting bit. Ting! You have captured an SSS ranked female NPC. Starting the conquest sequence. Inside the dark cave, some very strange noises were echoing, the kind that would definitely cause a misunderstanding if anyone walked in. Our dragon friend was panting a little, his face flushed, giggling with delight. Was he doing something legendary? Nope. He had somehow found a gold-covered comic book and was sitting in the corner reading it like a lunatic. Suddenly, he snapped out of it. What am I doing? What time is it? I'm stuck as a dragon and I'm reading a stupid comic? Get a grip. Just then, he felt something soft brush against his tail. Turning to look, our dragon hero realized the princess had unconsciously wrapped herself around his tail. So cold, she murmured. A massive jet of blood spurted from the dragon's nose apparently. Even in lizard form, he's still a sucker for a pretty face. He mumbled to himself that an SSSS rank really hits different, and that he truly must be the chosen one. Curious, he opened her status panel. Name, Anna Hathaway. Age, 18. Elf years. Status, starving, freezing, and severely ill. Life expectancy, 2 days. Affection level, -80, she's basically terrified of him. The system warned him, affection too low. No points or abilities for you. The dragon's heart sank. Only 2 days to live? So an SSS rank is just a disposable asset? He actually burst into tears. Typical, there's no such thing as a free jackpot in this world. Suddenly, he felt another tug. The princess was hugging his tail even tighter now, mumbling about how warm it was. The dragon froze like a statue, looking back awkwardly. Crap, why does this feel so indecent? He gently pried his tail away and found an old animal pelt in the corner to cover her up. There, that should keep you warm. Ting! Affection increased by 10. He blinked in surprise. Just tucking her in gave him a boost. This might be easier than he thought. But then his giant stomach let out a thunderous growl. He looked up at the floating screen. Hey, system, let's make a deal. Give me some points in advance, and I'll pay you back with more affection later. The system's response was instant and cold. Of course not. Not willing to give up. The dragon clasped his massive claws together in a pitiful plea. Look at me. I can't even move properly. I'm barely holding it together. How am I supposed to find food or raise her affection like this? How about a newbie gift? The system finally chimed in with a tone that sounded suspiciously like it thought it was being generous. Ting! Valid point detected. Newbie gift granted. Temporary health recovery card. There was, of course, a massive catch. The card only lasted 30 minutes and worked by basically sucking the life force out of the host to give him a temporary boost. Once the timer hit 0, he turned into a giant, scaly puddle of exhaustion and passed out cold. Our dragon friend went stiff, his eyes wide with disbelief. Wait, what the hell? Isn't that just stealing my own life and giving it back to me as a reward? You looked over at Anna Hathaway, who was lying in the corner of the dark cave. She was trembling, covered in sweat, and clearly in no condition to help him find a snack. Realizing this was his only shot before he became too weak to even lift a claw, he made his choice. System. Activate the card. Ting! Temporary recovery card activated. Please try to treasure your life. Feeling a sudden surge of borrowed energy, he dashed out of the cave. He managed to pluck a few apples from a nearby tree, but he immediately frowned. Wait a minute, I'm a dragon now. Fruit is just the garnish. I need meat. He knew that if he hit that 30-minute crash without a full stomach, he might actually starve to death. He started rummaging through a nearby bush, and jackpot, he found a pile of animal carcasses. His dragon eyes lit up. Meat, finally. But the free lunch was interrupted. The wind suddenly shifted. Birds scattered in every direction, and his dragon horns twitched instinctively. A pack of silver moon wolves stepped into the clearing. These were level 25. They're a tier beasts. Our hero narrowed his eyes, knowing these wolves were famously territorial. No wonder they showed up, he muttered. This must be their pantry. Still, a part of him was confused. He was a literal dragon. Shouldn't his dragon aura be sending these pups running for the hills? Despite his logic, a wave of tension and nausea hit his chest. The lead wolf didn't wait for an introduction. It lunged straight at him. His dragon eyes flared with survival instinct. He tapped into the raw power swirling in his gut and opened his mouth wide. Instead of a roar, a massive, high-pressure gust of wind erupted from his jaws. The blast was so powerful it caught the lead wolf mid-air and sent it flying clean out of sight. The 2 remaining wolves just stood there, completely dumbfounded, staring at the empty space where their leader used to be. Our hero didn't have time to play nice doggy. With a powerful flap of his wings and a sudden burst of flame, Tenine roasted the remaining 2 wolves right where they stood. He raised his head and let out a roar so loud it probably shook the neighbor's windows, and a blue flash of light shot into the sky. His dragon aura was now officially turned on and unmistakable. Satisfied with his barbecue, he turned around and flew back to his cave home. Inside, Princess Anna Hathaway had finally opened her eyes. Sensing the massive scaly presence behind her, she woke up in a state of pure terror. Tenine, now in carrying dragon mode, was cradling a bunch of fruit in his arms. He peeked over at the princess to check her vitals. She still looked like she was 1 foot in the grave, and he started worrying. How do you feed a girl who's passed out? Suddenly, Anna shifted her weight and lunged at him with a scream, clutching a sharp piece of stone. "Get away from me, you monster!" she yelled, charging him. Tenine didn't even flinch. He casually raised an apple and held it against her lips like a peace offering. The stone shard hit his scales and shattered instantly, not even leaving a scratch. Anna stood there, stunned, and spat the apple out. She wiped the juice off her face and glared at him with everything she had. You giant evil dragon, are you going to eat me?" Tanine's dragon face just looked blank. What? Where do you even get that idea? But to Anna, his giant lizard mug looked like a hungry beast ready to swallow her whole. Her stomach did a flip. She heard a low grower, and she immediately fainted again. Tenine was baffled. "System, what's her problem now?" The system replied dryly, "High fever combined with extreme fright. Subject has checked out of reality again." Tenine ignored the drama for a second. "Hey, system, about those silver wolves I just turned into charcoal. Didn't I get some points for that?" The screen just kept flashing. High fever. Too frightened, passed out. He squinted at the interface, annoyed. "I said the wolves. I definitely earned points for them, right?" Finally, the system caught up. Affirmative. Host defeated 3 level 25 silver wolves. However, because they really hated you, the points are a bit lower. "Congratulations. You've earned your first 30 system points." "Dang," Tanina muttered. He started doing some quick math in his head. He had 30 points and a dying princess. He needed to find something to lower her fever, and he needed to find it fast. The system, feeling uncharacteristically helpful, popped up with a bargain. Ting! System recommends redeeming the medicinal herb Huangqin at a special discount of 10 points. Tinin dug through his human memories. Huangqin? Grandpa mentioned that once. It's great for fevers. Wait, the system has earth medicine too? Not wanting to waste another second of his life force, he hit the button. System, redeem the herb! A pinkish blue flower sprouted right out of the dirt in front of him. Tenine stared at the plant, his dragon face turning a bit red with embarrassment. How the hell am I supposed to give this to her? He didn't have a mortar and pestle, so he had to go the mama bird route. He shoved the flower into his mouth and chewed it into a sticky pulp. Then, with the grace of a giant scaly crane, he leaned forward and carefully transferred the crushed herbs to Anna's lips. Ting! Restoration buff active. Just as the medicine started working, Tenine's body began to sway. Crap, he muttered. The 30-minute power-up had finally run out. His eyelids felt like they weighed a ton, and his vision blurred. Too heavy. So tired. He collapsed into a deep, exhausted sleep right next to her. Meanwhile, inside her own head, Anna Hathaway was wandering through a burning desert in a hazy dream. So hot, so thirsty, she moaned. Suddenly, a massive shadow covered the sun. She looked up and saw the terrifying face of the black dragon flying toward her. She screamed and jolted awake, tears still in her eyes. She sat up, expecting to be eaten, but realized she was perfectly dry sheltered safely beneath the dragon's massive, still wing while rain poured down outside the cave. She licked her lips and noticed a bitter, herbal taste. Then she saw the leftover green pulp on the sleeping dragon's mouth. Did this big dragon just save me? She whispered. Ting. Affection level +2. She spotted the pile of fresh fruit he had gathered, and a small smile touched her face. He went and found all this just for me? Ting. Affection level +2. Her smile deepened as she watched the scary monster snoring loudly beside her. What a gentle giant. Ting. Affection level +2. Anna's hand trembled as she reached toward the massive, unconscious dragon. She was still weak, but seeing the scary monster lying so still made her worry. Please wake up, big dragon, she whispered. Since he wasn't moving, she did her best to be brave. She sat beside his giant snout and gently stroked his scales with her small hands. Please get better soon, she murmured, hoping the gentle giant would open his eyes. Ting! Anna Hathaway's affection level plus 10, current affection 90. Because she hit the 90-point mark, the system went into overdrive. Congratulations! Phase 1 unlocked. Skill, minor plunder received. The system explained that this skill makes eating food restore his energy instantly and gives him passive healing. The only problem? His appetite was about to become a bottomless pit. The peaceful, moonlit night didn't stay quiet for long. A loud, painful scream suddenly echoed through the trees, scaring the birds into a panic. It was Tenine, wailing in agony. Damn IT, I am starving. Why am I so hungry? I just ate. Even though he was miserable, his mood flipped when he saw the notification. Oh sweet, one nap and I get a skill like this? Man, sometimes life is actually good. Unfortunately, his stomach didn't care about his new skill. It was growling like a wild beast. Tenine slumped to the ground in despair. Even with this skill, I'm freaking starving, he muttered gloomily. His gaze drifted over to the unconscious Anna nearby. In his hunger-hazed vision, she started to look, well, delicious. His mouth started watering. All he could picture was a crispy roasted fox, golden brown and steaming. He shook himself back to reality. No, bad idea. Her affection is at 90. I can't mess that up now. Then the realization finally hit him. Wait, 90? What the heck happened while I was asleep? Tenine started panicking. The jump in affection was way too fast. No way, he muttered. Don't tell me she... In his head, he imagined a dramatic scene where Anna gazed at him lovingly and confessed, Oh, majestic black dragon, you're so strong, so big. I like you so much. The daydream shattered instantly when the real Anna coughed up blood, snapping him back to reality. The system pinged a grim notification. Her lifespan was down to just 1 day. T9 freaked out. What the hell? Why is she suddenly this weak? The system calmly explained that by reaching the 90-point affection threshold, he'd unlock massive system points 20,000 in total and the ability to perform body modification. Tanini frowned. To be fair, she did save me. But just pumping her full of herbs won't work forever. What exactly is she sick with anyway? He opened the system shop, but it was a total dumpster fire of random garbage. A biscuit cost 50 points, a stick was 60, and some skin ointment was 50. Then he saw it. A miniskirt for 10,000 points. What is this crap, he snapped. Who would buy a 10,000-point miniskirt? This shop is clearly made for a dragon's weird sense of humor, not a half-dead elf girl. Right then, another, cheaper miniskirt appeared for 100 points. He looked at the item, then at Anna Hathaway. His dragon cheeks actually turned red. Without another thought, he hit purchase. The skirt materialized and automatically dressed the unconscious girl. Even while sick, she looked, well, very shapely. Tenine immediately covered his eyes with his claws. Nope, not looking. Dragon parts are spiky, and this is getting weird. He tried to shake the image out of his head and focus on the real problem, finding a way to actually cure her before her 24 hours were up. The system started listing some upgrade options. Fang and Claw enhancements, 400 points. Cosmetic overhaul, 100 to 10,000 points. Tenine shook his giant head. No, focus. Let's find the medical stuff first. Finally, he saw it. Yes, this is it. System, I want to purchase Beginner Insight Medical Diagnosis. Confirmed. Host has spent 1,000 system points, starting ocular modification. Side effects include discomfort. Advice, please do not gouge out your own eyes. The moment the message vanished, Tenine-Eye's eyes turned a bright, angry red. He collapsed to the cave floor, rolling around in agony. It burns. It itches. It's killing me. Once the pain settled, a detailed high-tech report appeared over Anna's body. Subject, Anna Hathaway race, high elf, rare variant, status, critically ill symptoms, profuse sweating, sensitivity to cold, muscle fatigue, anemia, persistent cough. Notable condition, ulcer on the upper thigh. Tenine turned pale. Well, as pale as a black dragon can get. Holy crap, it's a miracle she's still alive. Suddenly, a deep, heavy sound from outside made him jump the sound of a dragon's breath. He sensed danger immediately and ducked into the shadows to watch. What he saw made his blood run cold. A group of black viper mercenaries was approaching. Most were bottom-of-the-barrel scum, levels 16 to 20, but they had muscle. Wells, a level 21 Grand Knight, and their leader, Serena, a level 18 Fire Mage. T9 didn't wait for them to find the cave. He began powering up, lightning crackling across his scales and his eyes glowing a terrifying blood red. Without warning, he shot into the sky like a rocket. We found it! The dragon is in the sky! The mercenaries yelled. Wells bellowed orders. Form up, surround it, prepare for battle. Strangely, only the mage, Serena, stayed calm. She squinted at the massive shape in the clouds and muttered, "Is that really the same stupid black dragon? Why does he feel so different from before?" Serena raised a hand, her face pale. "Wait, everyone, something is wrong here. This feels different." Wells, being the typical arrogant knight, just sneered at her. "Coward," he spat. "If you had just used the binding spell back in the capital square, we'd have this overgrown lizard stuffed and mounted by now. Ignore her." He pointed his sword toward the horizon where Tanine was circling. "The dragon is heading west, after it." Serena's eyes narrowed as she watched him fly. West? She thought. Why would a dragon fly away from the deep forest? Unless it's hiding its treasure and trying to lure us into a trap. She actually smiled, impressed by her own genius deduction. High above, Tanine looked down at the tiny people scurrying around like ants and scoffed. Bunch of trash. He didn't feel like playing tag. He dove straight into the middle of the mercenaries and started a literal cleanup crew. One by one, the soldiers started screaming as they were wiped out with terrifying efficiency. Seeing his paycheck, his men disappearing so fast, Wells leaped into the air with the heroic shout, "D! Monster!" He swung his sword with everything he had, landing a direct hit. The sword hit Tanine's scales with a pathetic clink. Not a scratch. Not even a scuff mark. Wells froze midair, his face going pale. No, not even a scratch? Tanine turned his head slowly, looking mockingly at the knight. "Oh, that itch on my back? Turns out it was just a flea." Wells turned bright red with pure rage, but he was completely powerless. How is this happening?" he stammered. Tanine didn't give him an interview. He just opened his mouth and spat a glob of nasty, slimy green goo directly at the knight's face. "Think about it in your next life, loser," he muttered. When the green slime cleared, Wells didn't have a head anymore. His body just slumped to the ground, leaving the rest of the mercenaries to realize they were way out of their league. Seeing their boss lose his head literally, the remaining mercenaries decided that pride was way too expensive. They dropped their weapons, grabbed their heads, and scattered like roaches when the lights come on. "The Grand Knight is dead! Run for your lives!" one screamed. T9 wasn't about to let his lunch walk away. He swung his massive tail in a wide arc, pinning a few of the fleeing soldiers to the dirt. "You think you're escaping," he said gleefully, though it just sounded like scary dragon huffs. "I need those system points." One lucky guy managed to scramble out of sight, and Tanine just sighed. "Whatever, I'll let that one go. I'm not a marathon runner." But then he paused. Something felt off. He did a quick head count and realized someone was missing. Wait, where's the mage? Panic spiked through him. He turned and flew back toward the cave at top speed. When he burst inside, he found her. Serena Ludi was actually tending to Anna Hathaway, using healing magic. But she wasn't being friendly. "Stay back, you evil dragon," Serena screamed. She didn't hesitate, chanting a high-level binding spell that slammed into T9, pinning his wings to his sides. She slumped over, panting heavily. So tired. Ironically, T9 had used up all his dragon breath during his flashy entrance and couldn't blast his way out. "Damn it, what is this crap? I'm screwed," he muttered. Should have saved some juice for the boss fight. Serena watched him struggle in her magic net and actually started giggling. She looked like she was enjoying this way too much. T9 panicked, flailing around and letting out a sharp screech that sounded more like a frustrated bird than a legendary beast. "I've had a use-razy woman." With one final desperate burst of strength, he ripped the magic net into 1,000 fluttering shreds. He lunged forward and slammed Serena to the ground, pinning her under his sharp iron claws. His dragon face was twisted in fury. "Speak!" he roared. "Who sent you? Why won't you answer?" Then he paused. Right, I'm currently a giant lizard. All she hears is roar, growl, snort. He quickly pulled up the system. "How many points to upgrade my vocal cords so I can actually talk?" The system replied instantly. Vocal cord transformation, 300 points. Current balance, 280 points. New feature, system loan service. Interest rate, 50%. T9 froze. 50%? Are you robbing me or running a bank? That's not a loan, that's a crime. The system didn't even blink at his insults. "Tang, this system does not engage in unethical conduct," it stated mechanically. "Fine, whatever. I guess I've got no choice," T9 grumbled. "System, upgrade my vocal cords. Give me the scam loan." "Ting, vocal cord successfully modified. 20 points borrowed. Debt, 30 points. Please pay your taxes." T9 cleared his throat, which now felt a lot more human, and roared at the pinned mage. Speak! Who sent you people? And what is your objective? Serena's eyes nearly popped out of her head. You can talk? I don't have much patience left, he growled, his new voice sounding deep and dangerous. Serena finally cracked and spilled the beans. We were just a mercenary group hired by King Honorius to hunt you down. The goal was to, strengthen the prince's body. T9 narrowed his eyes. Strengthen it how? Serena looked incredibly nervous. The prince? He has issues in the bedroom. To cure his performance problems, he needs to consume the heart of a dragon and the dragon's sacred essence. T9 absolutely exploded with rage. Not just my heart, but my essence, too. That old dog of a king. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, somewhere across the map, King Honorius let out a violent sneeze. He rubbed his nose and screamed at his soldiers. What do you mean you still haven't found that black dragon? What am I paying you for? I've been feeding you for nothing, a soldier stammered, shaking in his boots. Grandmaster Men says the dragon crossed the Morrigan Plains and entered the Silver Forest. Since it's just an adolescent, it probably can't go deeper into the Moonlight Mountains. But tracking it with magic is going to cost a lot of resources. The king growled. Cost what? The soldier gulped. Grandmaster meant he wants more money. Damn that greedy old man, the king roared. Can't he see my kingdom is the size of a nostril? It's not even 1/10 the size of Marquis Elland. I already gave him 300 gold lions. He huffed, clutching his chest. Fine, give him 500 more. That's it. If he doesn't like it, forget the whole thing. Yes, your majesty, the soldier squeaked, scurrying away before the king could throw a chair at him. Deep inside the drafty cave, Serena was currently reconsidering her career choices while tied to the wall. Across from her, a giant shadowy dragon was doing something very suspicious, which turned out to be T9 just sorting his loot, like a gamer organizing his inventory. He was muttering to himself, Holy Light Potion. Boosts thinking speed, healing potion, restores health. He trotted over to Serena, looked her up and down, and asked, You know how to heal, right? Serena gave him a defiant glare. So what if I do? I'd rather die than heal a dragon like you. T9 raised a massive claw, the sharp talons glinting in the dark. Serena squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for the end. But instead of a slash, she heard the ropes snap. T9 grabbed her by the back of the neck like a misbehaving kitten and carried her over to the injured Anna. Heal her, he ordered. Serena panicked. Do you even know she's not a real princess? I know, T9 replied calmly. In his head, he was thinking, Of course I know. Even an idiot can see she's a half-beast with those ears. Serena stared at him, confused. Then why are you saving her? T9's dragon face turned a bit red. He couldn't exactly say, because she's an SS rank asset and I'm farming her for points. He fumbled for a reason that sounded halfway normal. Because we're best friends. Yeah, totally best friends. He figured that since her affection was at 90, best friends was a safe label. Serena looked at him with pure disbelief. You're saving her? Just because you're friends? Ting, affection +2. Suddenly, a new character profile popped up in his vision. Name, Serena Ludi, age 19. Rating, SSS race, human status, healthy affinity, dark magic current affection. 30. She still kind of hates you. Daki. T9 gawked at the screen. What the hell? He looked at his point balance, which was currently sitting at -30 thanks to that scam loan. Anna loved him at 90, but Serena was sitting at a chilly 30. After reading Serena's SSS rank, T9 froze in place. He breathed a massive sigh of relief, thanking the heavens that he hadn't turned her into system points earlier. You don't just throw away an SSS rank mage. Serena caught a bit of his mumbling and squinted at him. What was that? T9 waved a massive claw awkwardly. Ah, nothing. Forget it. He quickly changed the subject. How is Anna doing? Serena lifted a finger and shook her head like a doctor delivering bad news. Not great. Her injuries are serious, and one tiny healing potion isn't going to cut it. What do you need then? He asked, getting impatient. A clean, safe place, Serena listed off. Proper supplies, food, real medicine, and a skilled cleric. Tiny's dragon face crumpled in despair. A cleric? That was the fancy term for top-tier healing mages. He opened his jaws and let out a roar of pure frustration. If I knew a damn cleric, do you think I'd be stuck here talking to you? Serena crossed her arms coolly. Hey, I never claimed to be a professional healer. I'm a dark mage, remember? Just as the tension was about to boil over, a small voice cut through the cave. Anna Hathaway had finally opened her eyes. You two, please don't fight, she whispered. Just being alive right now is a miracle. Thank you, mighty dragon. I'm really okay, I promise. Tenine brightened up instantly, stumbling over his own dragon tongue. Hey, Anna, you're awake! She was sitting on the damp floor, still looking pathetic with those heavy iron chains on her hands and feet. Suddenly, a system notification pinged. Alert. NPC emotional stability is compromised. Recommendation. Provide comfort. Tenine's eyes glinted mischievously. If that's the case, his form expanded, scales, wings, and fangs all flexed as he fully committed to being a mighty black dragon. He lunged forward and Showpiece shoved Anna's upper half straight into his mouth. Hey! Serena screamed, horrified. She said she was fine. That doesn't mean you should eat her. Turns out, he wasn't having a snack. He was just using his teeth as bolt cutters. He bit through the chains and spat her out gently. What the hell are these shackles made of? He thought grimly. They weigh as much as she does. It was clear King Honorius hadn't held back when it came to the budget for capturing a dragon. Anna, now completely soaked in dragon spit, looked down at herself in shock. Amazingly, her wounds were closing up. Dragon saliva, the world's most gross high-tier healing agent. She looked up, totally confused. Great dragon, what are you planning to? Before she could finish, Tenine leaned down, clamped his jaws around the back of both girls' collars, and hoisted them into the air like two kittens. Put me down, you scaly freak! Serena yelled, dangling over the cave floor. But Tenine didn't listen. It was time to find a real shelter before his negative point balance caught up with him. Serena was still shrieking like a siren, but Tenine just gave a calm, muffled rumble through his teeth. This place isn't safe anymore. We need to move, and seriously, stop yelling it's bad for my ears. Anna, on the other hand, was blushing a deep shade of crimson. Being drenched from head to toe in dragon spit was, well, an experience. Why, yes, great dragon, she stammered. Ting! Affection plus 10. Current affection 100. Achievement unlocked. First NPC at max affection. Reward plus 10 system points. T9 did a mental dance. He was finally back to a balance of 20. Still in debt, but hey, progress. Sometime later, after flying long enough to find the halfway decent hideout, the trio finally sat down. Both girls were flushed, breathing heavily and whispering things like, "It's so warm, and it smells so good, I can't take it anymore." Before you get the wrong idea, they were just eating. T9 had whipped up some grilled meat that was juicy, tender, and perfectly spiced. For a group of fugitives, this was pure bliss. Life, T9 thought, chewing a giant rib. This is what it's all about. Their barbecue party was rudely interrupted by the sound of rhythmic marching echoing through the forest. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Out from the trees marched a bizarre creature. He had the body of a man but the head of a dog. Behind him was an entire army of 500 equally weird-looking cobalt warriors. The leader suddenly raised a paw. Halt! Something is here. Tenine stared at the dog-headed army and broke into a cold sweat. What kind of freak show is this now? He muttered, ready to blast them into next week. One of the cobalts sniffed the air, tracking the scent of dragon and grilled steak. As if in slow motion, Tenine's giant shadow loomed over them. The cobalt leader looked up, his face went pale, and his eyes went wide. But he didn't scream in terror. Instead, his eyes started sparkling with the obsession of a hardcore fanboy. He started dashing around Tenine's legs like a puppy on a sugar high. Oh my stars! A real-life dragon! He shrieked with joy. I can't believe it! A dragon! He was literally drooling with awe, looking like he wanted Tenine to sign his shield. The leader of the dogmen dropped to the ground and literally started licking the dirt in front of Tenine. Great Dragon Lord, I am Barkley, the lead cobalt of the Shattered Fang clan. I beg to serve under your glorious wings. We will live and die for you. Woof. Tenine pulled up the system info for his new fanboy. Name, Barkley, the Cobalt. Role, Oracle of the Shattered Fang tribe. Level, 7. Class 1. Status, physically weak, but blindly worships dragons. Affection, 80. Worship level. Seeing their leader surrender so easily, the other 500 dog-headed followers dropped to the ground, grinning and wagging their tails in unison. Tenine looked at this army of weirdos and sighed. You're all so weak. What good are you as subordinates? Barkley's tail wagged like a propeller. Even if we are weak, we can polish your scales. We can build you a majestic nest. We can sniff out rare mineral veins. All the treasures of the world shall belong to you. Tinini was speechless. What is wrong with these guys? Are they afraid of being cannon fodder? But after thinking it over, he realized he needed a crew. Fine, why not? Let's see how useful you actually are. I want a clean, spacious lair, now. Can you handle that? Yes, S.I. Barkley barked with enough enthusiasm to wake the dead. He sprinted off on all fours, shouting, "This way, master!" Tonight, Anna and Serena followed behind. It turned out the royal palace was actually the tribe's village, but it was surprisingly well equipped. There was fresh bread, roasted meat, and fruit all laid out. Two sturdy houses with smoke curling from the chimneys stood nearby. Barkley beamed with pride. "Master, this is the Shattered Fang tribe village, the birthplace of your mighty kingdom." Woof. System update, system points, 970. He's finally out of debt and rich. Affection, Anna, 100. Affection, Serena, 30. Because of the warm welcome, Tinini decided to officially accept their loyalty. He stood proudly before the tribe, his massive dragon form casting a shadow over the village. He raised his voice. "From this day forward, I, Tinini Waterlow, accept your allegiance. By the honor of dragons, I vow to protect you and grant you a peaceful life." The tribe erupted in joyful cheers, shouting "Osh" and "Ha" in unison. Tinini then turned to Barkley, who was kneeling earnestly. He looked the dog man in the eye and asked, "Barkley, do you wish to become part of my family?" Tinini, now in the massive body of the dragon, Waterlow, nervously extended one claw toward Barkley. He smiled awkwardly to himself, thinking, "Man, this formal stuff is so embarrassing." He gently touched the center of Barkley's forehead, causing a trickle of fresh blood to appear. Suddenly, the blood droplet slowly solidified into a glowing red gem. Just then, some cobalts came rushing in from outside, all sporting fresh wounds on their heads. Surprised, Tinini asked, "Barkley, what happened to these guys? Isn't your tribe just these few?" Barkley dropped to his knees, baring his face as he sobbed. "Master, you have to take charge of us." He then recounted what had happened. Their tribe was attacked by a swarm of Etercaps and their spider minions. The monsters had taken over their territory and seized their mind. Barkley pointed at his injured tribe members standing nearby. "I led part of the tribe to escape here and start anew." Tinini's eyes widened in shock. "Etercaps, the mine?" He grinned mysteriously and stroked his chin. "A mine means wealth. Wealth means I can buy healing potions to keep Anna alive. Plus, I get to sleep on a pile of gold." After some thought, he looked at Barkley and asked, "Barkley, where exactly was your tribe before? And how many Etercaps are we talking about?" Barkley quickly replied, "Master, 5 Etercaps are holding the silver ore. They're brutal." His face grew serious. "Especially, they love to suck marrow. Each Etercap has a kind of flute-like tentacle that controls the spiders. As for how many spiders they control, I don't know." Tinini immediately queried the system. "Do you have a stat sheet on Etercaps?" The system responded, "Report, target not yet investigated. No information available. Recommend host purchase Monster Encyclopedia for detailed info and weaknesses." T9 stared as a blue book with a creepy, blinking yellow eye materialized on his system screen. Without a second thought, he hit confirm. Ting. Purchase successful. 900 system points deducted. T9's jaw dropped. Then he went absolutely berserk, literally biting at the holographic interface like a dog with rabies. 900? For a lousy book? You're a highwayman, a thief. "You're ripping me off, system." The system, as cold and unbothered as a tax collector, replied, "Please remain calm, host. Knowledge is power. PLTDs won't pay the bills. Give me my points back." Tinini screamed. "Report no refunds on digital goods," came the robotic reply. Tinini was devastated. Massive dragon tears actually started streaming down his snout as he moaned, "No, my precious points, gone like the wind." Anna Hathaway, looking concerned, tilted her head. "Great dragon, are you all right? You're making a very strange noise." Tinini sniffled, trying to regain his dignity. "It's nothing, just a very tough math problem I couldn't solve." Wiping his eyes, he sat down to actually read the expensive manual. The Etersap entry was nightmare fuel. Appearance, muscular, walks upright like a creep. Stats, level 28, tier 3, magical beast. Features, double-layered eyes and poisonous fangs. Traits, control spiders. Afraid of fire. Defense. Their shells are like armor plating resistant to water and acid. T9 wipes sweat from his scaly brow. This is bad. My current dragon breath is acid-based, which won't even tickle their shells. If I go into melee, I'll just get swarmed by 1,000 spiders. He scrolled through the shop looking for an upgrade. He found the basic furnace, a modification for his poison glands that would convert his acid into toxic molten lava breath. Cost, 1,000 points. There was also a breath reserve upgrade for faster recharges, also 1,000 points. He was broke. He needed a farm for points, and he needed it now. He turned to Barkley. Barkley, are there any human bandits or mercenary groups nearby? Maybe something called the Black Beast? Barkley looked startled but thought quickly. Master, there are 2 bandit gangs in the area. The biggest mercenary group nearby is called the Blood Wolf, but I've never heard of a Black Beast. Tanini didn't waste a single second. Good. Barkley, gather half the Cobalt warriors. We're going on a little scouting trip to visit those bandits. Barkley's tail started wagging like a high-speed fan. Yes, master. Woof. In Tanina's head, the math was simple. Human trash plus bandits equals high system points. Since they usually stuck together in camps, it was basically an all-you-can-eat buffet for point farming. He turned back to the 2 SSS rank girls. Anna, Serena, stay here. It's safer for you to wait for me. Anna nodded, her eyes full of concern. Great Dragon, please come back soon. Serena, however, just crossed her arms and looked away with a classic humph of annoyance. Tanin didn't buy the act for a second. He leaned his massive snout down until he was inches from her face, his red eyes narrowing. Warning, don't even think about running away while I'm gone. Serena jumped, her tough girl act crumbling into a stammer. Why would I do that? I love it here. Really? Scene shift. The Silver Moon Forest. Stormfang Bandit Camp high up on the watchtowers. 2 lookouts were squinting through binoculars. That's the boss. Open the gates. The massive wooden gates swung wide as 3 horse-drawn wagons, overflowing with stolen goods, rattled into the center of the camp. The bandit boss, a burly, bearded man who looked like he'd never met a razor, hoisted a massive mug of ale. Brothers, to a bountiful haul! Drink up! He roared. The men cheered, clinking mugs and shouting, Cheers! Boss, this haul is a jackpot! One lackey grinned. We're set for the month. 4 men struggled to carry a massive, ornate chest toward the front. What's this then? The boss asked, leaning in with greedy eyes. A special gift for you, boss. But before he could pop the lock, a subordinate burst into the tent, his face as white as a sheet. Boss, a black dragon! It's heading straight for yes. The boss spun around, nearly choking on his ale. What? Outside the gates, Tanin didn't bother knocking. He unleashed his full dragon aura, trampling through the fortifications like they were made of toothpicks. The Stormfang bandits, who were so brave 5 minutes ago, were now screaming and scattering like ants in a hurricane. Ting! Detected. 50 by low-level bandits. Let the farming begin. The Stormfang bandit camp was no longer a place of celebration. It was a literal melting pot. From Tanin's massive jaws, thick streams of sticky, corrosive acid sprayed down like a nightmare rainstorm. The bandits didn't even have time to reach for their swords. My eyes! I can't see! One shrieked, while others collapsed as the acid ate through their leather armor. T9 took to the sky, circling above like a dark god of debt collection, admiring the absolute chaos below. Every time his massive weight hit the ground, buildings pancaked into splinters. The bandit boss, blinded and burning, staggered through the smoke. Scatter, get away from the... He never finished the sentence. A glob of acid slime caught him mid-shout, ending his career as a thief and starting his new life as a puddle. Meanwhile, the Shattered Fang warriors, the toy NHA tribe, weren't just watching. Seeing their legendary master in action gave them a massive morale boost. They swarmed the fleeing survivors with knives, their yips of excitement mixing with the bandits' screams of terror. Barkley stood amidst the fallen enemies, tears of joy streaming down his furry face. We did it! The tribe is avenged! Woof! Ting! Battle concluded. Reward 1,120 system points earned from total annihilation. New balance 1,390 system points. The entire tribe erupted in a frenzy, jumping and shouting, Great Dragon Master! Victory! Barkley scurried over to T9, who was currently busy shaking bandit remains off his talons. Master! We've hit the jackpot! There are dozens of chests here. All the loot these humans stole from the surrounding villages. It's all yours. Tenine stared at the loot, a giant toothy grin spreading across his snout. Good work, Barkley. Pack it all up. We're taking every shiny coin back to the refuge. But then, something caught his eye. Amidst the boring sacks of flour, stolen apples, and piles of gold, he spotted a crate that practically glowed with main character energy. Inside were rows of shimmering vials, transformation potions. He carefully picked one up with a giant claw, and the system did its thing. Item info: low-level transformation potion. Effect: grants non-humans a human form, retains 10% of original strength. Duration: 1 hour. T9's eyes gleamed. With this, I can finally stop being a giant lizard and go back to Anna and Serena looking like a boss. In his head, the Delusion Theater started playing a high-budget movie. He saw himself as a tall, chiseled warrior. Anna Hathaway was blushing and whispering, "Please accept my humble kneeling," while Serena Ludi was sobbing at his feet, "You're so handsome. Forgive my past mistakes. May I kiss your toes?" Then, a sudden, horrifying thought hit him. Wait. If I'm an adolescent dragon, what if the potion turns me into a bratty 10-year-old? Oh no. Screw it, he muttered. Whatever happens, happens. It only lasts an hour anyway. He popped the cork and downed the liquid in one giant dragon gulp. Instantly, a strange, swirling aura wrapped around his body. The system chimed, transformation potion consumed, initiating human form. A glowing, egg-shaped shell formed around him, pulsing for a second before crack! Tenine stepped out of the shell, beaming with pride, standing tall and feeling breezy. Very, very breezy. He had completely forgotten that dragons don't wear pants. Barkley's eyes nearly popped out of his furry head. Master? Why? Why are you like that? Tenine looked down, saw his birthday suit, and turned a shade of red that put his dragon scales to shame. He frantically covered his manhood with both hands, screaming, "System! Where are my clothes?" "Is this part of the ripping me off them?" The system replied with its usual robotic sass. "Please wait a moment, host. Due to the rapid transformation, clothing assets are still loading. Please do not move during the buffer period." After what felt like the longest 30 seconds of his life, a set of clothes finally pixelated onto his body. T9 leaned over a nearby pool of water, practically purring at his own reflection. Who is this handsome devil? I'm almost as good looking as I was in my past life. And here I was worried about the adolescent dragon math. Turns out I'm a total stud. He flexed a bit, feeling much better about his 900-point book purchase. 1 hour is plenty of time to cause some trouble. After finishing his little self-love session, he turned to Barkley, who was currently vibrating with effort as he lugged a massive, overflowing chest. "Barkley, is everything packed up? Move those furry legs." Barkley, trembling under the weight, squeaked out, "Master, just herk. This last chest left, reporting for duty." Woof! Seeing that the loot was secured, Tenine felt the transformation aura fading. He let the eggshell envelop him again and popped back into his massive black dragon form. "I was right," he mused, feeling his heavy scales return. "Within that 1 hour window, I can toggle between being a hunk and a tank. Perfect. All right, let's head home." Back at the lair outside the cave, a mysterious sign written in ancient, jagged runes now hung, likely something the cobalts put up to warn off trespassers or to welcome the dragon god. Inside, Anna Hathaway was sitting on a pile of soft furs, surrounded by a few injured cobalts who were resting. Serena Ludi was pacing near the entrance, her eyes darting toward the forest. Now's the perfect chance, she thought, her heart hammering. The dragon is gone, the guards are distracted. I can run. But as she took her first stealthy step toward freedom, Anna looked up with a pure, puzzled expression. "Big Sis Serena, where are you going, caught red-handed?" Serena froze, then slowly pivoted back, wiping a gallon of nervous sweat from her brow. Ha, just wandering, stretching the old legs. Getting some cave air?" She sat back down with a heavy, soul-crushing sigh. "What now? The dragon hunt was a disaster. The mercenaries are dead. Wells is headless. If I go back now, I won't even be fit for a wizard's apprentice rank. I'm a failure." Her spiral into depression was interrupted by Anna's joyful shout. "Sis Serena, come here quickly. Look what I found." Serena looked over and blinked in total confusion. A batch of cobalt eggs had apparently decided that now was the perfect time to hatch. Dozens of tiny, adorable, dog-headed hatchlings were climbing all over Anna, yapping and wagging their tiny tails. Anna was laughing, covered in a pile of puppy ears. Serena stared, her brain short-circuiting. I'm a high-level dark mage held captive by a legendary black dragon. So why does this feel like a petting zoo? Serena looked at the piles of yapping cobalt hatchlings and then back at Anna. Anna, aren't you, terrified? You were kidnapped by a legendary black dragon. Anna just shrugged calmly, a tiny cobalt pup nibbling on her finger. Big sis Serena, the great dragon is actually very gentle. Serena's heart skipped a beat. Gentle? We are talking about the same guy who deleted a knight's head with green goo, right? Before she could process that, a cobalt sentry shrieked from the entrance. The wear back! Serena jumped. How did they get back so fast? System update. Current points 1190. Anna affection 100. Serena affection 30 outside the lair. Tenine was riding a high from his bandit stomping victory. He came charging toward the cave in his human form, shouting, I'm back, ladies. Did you miss me? To make sure he didn't run out of human time, he flicked back into his massive dragon form for a second to reset the transformation physics. But his victory lap was cut short. A moon-shaped staff came flying out of the shadows like a boomerang, smacking him right in the snout before he could even react. Oh, what is this madness? Tenine roared, snatching the staff out of the air and shaking it wildly. It's me, you idiots, it's Tenine. Then he froze. The smell of ozone and burnt silk hit his nostrils. The scene inside was a disaster. A wounded cobalt was rolling on the ground, groaning in pain. The once cozy cave was now draped in thick, sticky gray webs that covered every branch and stone. It looked like a giant had tried to gift wrap the entire lair in spider silk. But what stopped Tenine's heart was Serena Ludi. She was slumped against a rock, her mage robes torn to shreds and her body covered in jagged cuts. She was trembling, hugging herself tightly to keep from collapsing. As Tenine rushed toward her in a panic, she looked up with hollow, exhausted eyes. Anna, she whispered, her voice cracking. The spider monsters. They took Anna. Tenine lunged forward, catching her in his massive claws before she hit the ground. Serena stared up at the dragon, her eyes filled with tears and a crushing sense of shame. I'm sorry, she stammered, her voice barely a breath. It's my fault. I'm useless. I couldn't protect her. In her mind, she felt like a total failure. She'd failed the Mercenaries, she'd failed her mission, and now she'd failed the one person who called her Big Sis. She expected the dragon to roar, to breathe fire, to eat her for being incompetent. But instead, she felt something warm. Tenine reached out a claw, the same one that had crushed bandits an hour ago, and incredibly softly he stroked her head. It's okay, he rumbled, his voice surprisingly deep and kind. You've done well just to survive. I'm the one who failed. I shouldn't have left you all alone. The system chimed in with a notification that actually made Tenine pause. Ting! Serena Ludi's affection +5. Current affection 20. Congratulations, host. You have successfully bonded with the NPC and reached Phase 1. Tier 1 of the Benevolent ability unlocked. Reward 2,000 system points. T9 didn't have time to celebrate his newfound charm. He had a rescue mission to run. System no more games. Exchange everything for the basic furnace upgrade and the basic dragon breath reserve. The system's voice turned uncharacteristically grave. Exchange successful. 2,000 system points deducted. Warning. This biological modification is extremely invasive and painful. Please, try not to scream too loud. Before the system even finished its warning, Tenine's throat felt like he'd swallowed a bucket of literal suns. Blood spurted from his mouth like a broken fire hydrant, painting the cave floor red. Serena Ludi let out a horrified gasp, her hands flying to her mouth. You're bleeding. Your throat, what is happening to you? Tenine coughed, a small plume of black smoke escaping his lips. He wiped the blood away with a heavy claw, his eyes glowing with a terrifying new intensity. Still, holding up, fine, he rasped, his voice now sounding like grinding tectonic plates. He turned to his lead scout. Barkley, lead me to the Etercap lair. They dared to touch my SSS rank asset. I'm going to send those bugs straight to the afterlife. The tribe moved with a grim purpose. Barkley guided them deep into the Silver Moon Forest until the air turned thick and smelled of rotting silk. They reached a massive clearing where the trees were choked with gray webbing. Master, Barkley whispered, this is where they raise their brood. The Minar home is just ahead. Tenine didn't do stealth anymore. Good, increase speed. We're storming the front gates. I don't have time to pick them off one by one. Yes, master! Barkley barked, Rallying the remaining warriors, T9 spread his massive wings, intending to rain hell from above, but he had underestimated the home field advantage. A massive, reinforced spider web thick as ship's cable shot out from the canopy, wrapping around his wings and slamming him to the forest floor. Before he could shake it off, dozens of giant spiders dropped from the trees, firing web shots at his head to bind his jaws. "You think this thread can hold me?" T9 growled. He stretched his neck, and instead of a pathetic stream of acid, he unleashed a toxic molten lava breath. A jet of white-hot liquid fire erupted from his throat, incinerating the webs and the spiders instantly. Ting! Killed 57 giant spiders, gained 312 system points. Wrapped in the scent of burning hair and melting silk, T9's eyes blazed with pure killing intent. He didn't wait for a second wave. He charged headfirst into the dark maw of the Etercaps lair, ready to turn the mine into a tomb. After incinerating the welcoming committee, T9 wasn't in the mood for a polite conversation. He snatched a surviving Etercap by its swollen, bruised head and roared, "Where is the girl?" The creature could only let out a pathetic, gurgling chi-chi. T9 didn't wait for a translation. He stomped the monster into a purple smudge, took a mental note of the direction its shifty eyes had darted, and followed a trail of silk to a massive cave door. Realizing his massive dragon body would just get him stuck in the plumbing, he popped another transformation potion and shifted into his handsome human form to sneak inside. He burst through the final layer of webbing and shouted, "Anna!" There she was, Anna Hathaway, wrapped up like a high-end silk burrito. T9 brushed over, and even in the middle of a monster hive, he couldn't help but strike a pose. This is it, he thought. The hero moment. Anna's face went bright red the second he got close. She leaned forward, sniffing the air, and her eyes went wide. She didn't see a stranger. She smelled the distinct, slightly sulfurous scent of her dragon lord. System update. Points 1,190 Miri. Pre-bonus. Anna affection. 100 Serena affection. 2010-9 carefully peeled away the sticky webs, lifting her into his arms. Anna leaned into his chest, whispering shyly, "Great dragon lord, thank you for coming to save me. Whether you're a dragon or a human, you're still ridiculously handsome." T9, never one to miss an opportunity to flex, looked down at her with his coolest, most main character expression. "To me, you are very important. I will always come for you. Got it? Yes?" Anna squeaked. Ding! Anna Hathaway's affection, +10. Current affection, 110. Intimate level reached. Congratulations, host. You have unlocked intermediate possession. Special skills strengthened. Reward, 3,000 system points. T9's eyes practically turned into dollar signs. 3,000 points? Stomping bandits is honest work, but SSS rank girls are the real jackpot. The system also notified him that his physical growth was accelerating. He was no longer just a bratty teenager dragon. He was becoming a true powerhouse. But as he basked in his riches, a thought struck him. He stroked his chin, looking at his human hands. "Wait, how did you recognize me so easily?" "I look completely different." Anna smiled, looking perfectly content in his arms. "It doesn't matter what form you take. I'd recognize you at first sight, anywhere." Back at the lair, T9 was hovering over Anna like a helicopter parent with a scales problem. He was practically funneling healing potions down her throat. "Drink up. This is high-grade restoration medicine. Herbal therapy. Take it on time or no dessert." Ting. Affection +1, +1, +1. Ting. System points. 51 on 200. T9 stroked his scaly chin, sweating slightly as he watched his point balance drain. Man, affection is expensive. It's increasing too slowly for the price of these meds. He didn't even notice Serena Ludi stomping over, her face red with fury. "Hey, this is concentrated medicine, not soda. You can't just let her chug it, all willy-nilly, you oversized lizard." The word soda hit T9's brain like a lightning bolt. Sweet stuff. If the medicine tastes like swamp water, maybe some candy from the bandit loot would make the affection farming easier. Without a word of explanation, he dashed over to the mountain of stolen bandit crates, tossing sacks of flour and gold coins aside like trash. No candy, no chocolate. But then he spotted it, a chest that looked more premium than the rest. "Jackpot," he muttered, prying it open. His jaw didn't just drop, it practically hit the cave floor. Inside wasn't a magic sword or a pile of gems. It was a stunningly hot girl, tied up like a holiday roast with a rag stuffed in her mouth. She looked up at him with tear-filled, terrified eyes. The system screen flickered to life. Name, Evelyn. Age, 17. Rank A. Level 22. Talent. Water element magic status. Fearful. Panicked. Oxygen deprived affection. 50. She thinks you're the one who kidnapped her? What the hell is this? Tanini blurted out, completely baffled. Serena saw his stunned expression, took one look into the chest, and delivered a thunderous slap right to his dragon-scaled shoulder. "You pervy dragon!" she shrieked. "You filthy, scaly pervert! Is this why you were so eager to scout the bandits?" Anna, hearing the commotion, wandered over while wiping her mouth from the last potion. "Great Dragon Lord? Sister Serena? What's going on?" Serena instantly teleported in front of her, covering Anna's eyes with her hands. "Don't look, Anna. Kids shouldn't see the dark, twisted hobbies of this degenerate." Of course, the don't look rule only lasted about 3 seconds. Soon, both Serena and Anna were peeking into the chest with horrified, curious faces. Tanine rubbed his sore face, his wings drooping in protest. "Hey, I literally just found her. It's not like I ordered a subscription box for humans." The girls didn't buy it for a second. They backed away, looking at him as if he were the shadiest dragon in the history of the Silver Moon Forest. Tanine looked like he'd just been hit by a truck of pure confusion. "What's with these judgmental looks? Ask her yourself if you don't believe me." He reached out and snatched the gag from the girl's mouth, but instead of a "thank you," Evelyn let out a lung-shattering shriek. "You damn pervert! Let me go." Serena didn't hesitate for a second, rushing over to wrap the girl in a large blanket while shooting Tanine a look that could wither a cactus. "All right, calm down now. The big creep can't hurt you." Even Anna was staring at Tanine with squinted, suspicious eyes, causing her affection to drop by 1 point after another. Feeling falsely accused and utterly heartbroken, Tanine turned to his loyal subordinate with tears welling in his dragon eyes. "Poor me. What did you tell them, Barkley?" The dogman stood at attention, tail tucked. "Master, you ordered me to load everything onto the cart without exception. I was just being thorough." "Woof!" Suddenly, Tanine remembered seeing Barkley struggling to lift the heavy chest back at the camp. He'd had no idea human was the loot inside, but before he could clear his name, a mighty invisible will swept across the world, making the very air vibrate. A blood-red system notice flashed before his eyes, making him jump. "Gomble budgeons. All psalms are being digits. Or psalms are being digits. Chosen owns will arrive in starter villages. Count dawn, 3 days." Tanine stared in shock as glowing HP bars suddenly appeared above Serena and Anna's heads. "Anna! Serena! Did you two see that?" Serena barely glanced over, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Yeah, I saw a filthy, pervy dragon." It was written in very clear letters. Tanine jumped up in a panic, waving his claws. "I wasn't talking about that." He furrowed his brows, his mind racing through the implications. System, what is the gamble? Who are the chosen? Am I in a real world or stuck inside some twisted survival game? With 4,452 points in his pocket and a literal starter village forming nearby, the peaceful life of a lazy dragon was officially over. No matter how much Anna smiled and claimed she'd recognize him in any form, Tanai knew that in 3 days, the real monsters, the players, were coming. At that moment, the system chimed in. Ding! Privilege unlocked. Host, your current world is reality. However, due to the influence of specific materials, it has become semi-game like a gamble tied to the very fate of this world. If the host fails to eliminate all players, the consequences will be unimaginable. Tanine's expression flickered between horror and utter surprise. Eliminate players? What kind of sick joke is this? Players are supposed to be people who just sit around and play a game, right? I've never heard of any country developing a reality-based game, but now this entire world has been gamified. The system continued. Ding! Players originate from Cerulean Star, a world with highly advanced gaming technology, somewhat similar to the home world of the Dragon Lord's mother. Tanini fell into a deep, calculating thought. A parallel star system, so no psychological pressure there. It's not even my homeland. Still, is eliminating them really the answer? I mean, they can respawn, right? The system provided the mechanics. Ding. Players can respawn, but each respawn time doubles. First death, 5 seconds. Second death, 10 seconds. Third death, 20 seconds. And so on until the deadline ends. Tanini did some quick mental math, his eyes widening as the numbers climbed. Wait, if a player dies just 23 times, they'd have to wait over a year to respawn. He He quickly regained his composure, a dark smirk spreading across his dragon snout. Even if they keep coming back after a year, the next death will take 2 years to revive. Meanwhile, I'll just keep growing stronger. As long as I don't die, the players will only get weaker over time. This isn't too hard. After all, I'm a dragon, even if I haven't reached my full potential yet. Curious, Tanina asked the system one more vital question. What about the NPCs in this world? Can they respond to? The system's answer immediately dashed his hopes. Sorry. According to the rules, NPCs cannot respawn. Tanine gaped, completely shocked by the cruelty of the mechanic. What kind of unfair, broken rule is that? Players get infinite revivals, but the people of this world have to pay with their lives in every single fight? This isn't a game at all. He looked at Anna and Serena, his heart sinking. It's an invasion. A system screen materializes in the air, displaying a massive, perfectly balanced scale. On one side sits a silhouette of a dragon. On the other, a small army of human warriors. While the strength appeared equal on paper, the nature of the power was fundamentally different, and the stakes were absolute. The losing side wasn't just losing a game, they were slated for total extinction. Tanine's blood boiled. He clenched his fist and punched a nearby tree trunk with enough force to crack the wood. Wipe out on what grounds? You turn this entire world into a playground and don't even ask the people living here if they agree? You're playing with their lives like they're cheap toys. As his anger peaked, a surge of raw power erupted from his heart. With a blinding flash, the human skin peeled away as his massive dark scales reclaimed his frame. He was a dragon once more. Anna looked up, her eyes wide with worry. Great Dragon Lord, you've reverted to your old form so suddenly. Tanine's voice came out as a low, rumbling growl of disbelief. The medicine wore off already? I didn't even get to use the hour properly. 6 bottles, wasted. Just like that. Hoo hoo hoo! Anna reached out, patting his massive leg to comfort him. Please don't be mad. We asked around and found out the truth. It was those bandits who kidnapped that girl, not you. It wasn't your fault. Tanine groaned, his head sinking low. No, it's not even about the pervert thing anymore. Suddenly, his reptilian eyes locked onto Anna and they practically lit up. Wait, why are you dressed like that? Anna blushed a deep crimson, fidgeting with the hem of her new outfit. My old clothes were all torn from the spiders, so Serena found a chest full of clothes in the loot, and I changed. Tanine's head snapped towards Serena, who was busy chatting with the newly rescued Evelyn. Serena! Why didn't I know you had such a weird hobby before? Both girls were now sporting tight, revealing animal print outfits that left very little to the imagination. Serena didn't even flinch, glancing back with a shrug. It's for camouflage, obviously. You know, forest stuff. Tanina turned his gaze toward Evelyn, the water mage. He squinted, his internal system calculator running the numbers. She's only an A rank. She can't even reach S. Maybe I should just grind her into system points right now and be done with it. He watched her for a moment, her big, teary eyes, and the way she huddled in the animal print. He let out a long, smoky sigh. Never mind. She's probably not worth many points anyway. Might as well keep her around as a pet. Tanine didn't hesitate to swipe his digital card, buying a set of outrageously priced, shimmering dresses from the system shop. While they were a bit over the top for a damp cave, the 3 girls were absolutely thrilled, spinning around in their new silk finery like they weren't in the middle of a monster den. But as they laughed, Tanine turned away, his eyes darkening with a heavy realization. Maybe I'm the only one in this world who actually understands what's happening, he thought. If fate gave me the ability to see the world as a game, it's not a gift, it's a survival kit to use against the coming players. He stood up from his stone perch, his massive dragon frame casting a long, intimidating shadow. I can't afford to be careless anymore, he announced, his voice vibrating with newfound determination. He turned to the lizard men standing nearby. Barkley, tell me everything you know about the monster factions in this region. I need a map of every tribe and hive. I'm going to unite them all. Barkley didn't ask questions. He simply bowed and hurried to obey. The system flickered to life in Tanine's mind, displaying his updated status. With 30,852 points in the bank, his influence was growing. Anna's affection had hit a high of 210. Serena was slowly thawing at 30, though the newcomer, Evelyn, was still sitting at a frosty -40. He studied his own data with a clinical focus, level 30, 60,000 health, and a terrifying attack power of 5,000. He lingered on his passive skill, experience resonance, which allowed him to soak up half the experience earned by his family and subordinates. It was his greatest edge, but he noticed a chilling detail in the rules. Natives killing natives didn't grant a single point of experience. Only killing players did. The players, however, weren't bound by those rules. To them, every living thing in this world, his tribe, his friends, was just a walking experience bar waiting to be harvested. It was a high-stakes game of chess where the resources were tragically unequal. If they can respawn and recant, T9 hissed, smoke curling from his nostrils. Then I have to make sure they never even get the chance to level up. The unseen masterminds pulling the strings on both sides were clearly trying to force the players and the natives into a brutal, zero-sum game where only one side could walk away. T9 narrowed his eyes at the system screen, his mind spinning. If attributes can be improved through training, he mused, that might be the only real edge we have. He needed a guinea pig. He spotted a nearby cobalt cleaner and barked, "You there! Come here!" The small creature scurried over and bowed so low his snout hit the dirt. "Great master, Huck pledges his meager strength to you." The system instantly pulled up a profile that made T9 want to facepalm. Name, Huck level 4, rank 1. Health, 800, strength, 4, armor, 80 skills. Setting traps, den design, mining, garbage collecting, howling, reckless fighting, and T9's personal favorite, playing dead. Weak, pathetic, beyond belief. T9 sighed, smoke curling from his nostrils. He bared his fangs, looming over the trembling cobalt. New orders. Run around the perimeter of this cave for 30 minutes. No breaks. Not a single second of rest. If you stop before the timer hits 0, I'm having cobalt tartare for dinner. Move. Huck let out a squeak of pure panic and took off like a shot. He ran until his lungs were burning and his legs felt like jelly, finally collapsing in a heap. Master. Great master. Huck, done running. Ting, system update, health, 810, constitution, 8.1, 6 door. Orsos, 0.1, Aramor, 81, 6 to money nodded approvingly. So manual labor really does move the needle on the stats. Just then, the atmosphere in the cave shifted. Anna, Serena, and Evelyn approached, twirling in the high-priced dresses he bought earlier. "Great Dragon Lord," Anna chirped, her eyes sparkling. "We've changed. Do you think we look good?" Tanin's imagination immediately went into overdrive. He pictured his high-rank girls charming the socks off potential recruits. "Hey there, handsome. Want to join the winning side and get stronger?" He chuckled to himself, a bit of dragon saliva dripping from his jaw as he gave them an appreciative look. "Nice. Give me 100 more people like this, and I'll own this continent." The moment of vanity was cut short as a subordinate hurried forward, unrolling a weathered piece of parchment on a flat stone. "Master, this is the map of the Silver Moon Forest, preserved by the previous clan leader. It marks the territories of the Gnolls, the Cockatrices, the Fire Rabbits, the remaining Cobalts, and the Bore tribes." T9 leaned over the map, his claw tracing the jagged lines of the forest. The players were coming in 3 days, and he finally had a hit list for his new monster alliance. T9 took one look at the ragtag group of forest rejects and realized he needed to be more than a dragon. He needed to be a CEO. He turned to his subordinate with a sharp glint in his eye. "Barkley, get every cobalt we have. Tell them to bring their gear. We're going on a corporate merger tour." The Silver Moon Forest quickly became a graveyard of bruised egos as T9A went on a tactical rampage. One by one, the local bosses got a face full of dragon reality. The Fire Rabbit leader at level 3, the Cockatrice leader at level 7, and the Boar leader at level 9 were all soundly thrashed and left questioning their life choices. As they cowered in the dirt, T9 loomed over them, trying his best to look like a visionary and not just a giant lizard who'd just kicked their butts. "Listen up! You don't have to fear me eating you," he rumbled, projecting his most heroic voice. "According to my intel, this world is facing an enormous threat. We must unite. Silver Moon Forest is our home, and we aren't moving. Take up your weapons and fight back. Drive away these wretched enemies." Suddenly, a system notification pinged in his mind, announcing that his passive skill, Tears of the Wise, had been activated. Instantly, the forest clearing turned into a daytime soap opera. The boars were wailing into their hooves, and the rabbits were hugging T9's ankles like he was the second coming of the carrot god. Wow, that was so inspiring. Long live the great lord. We are one family. Sniff, Lord Waterlow, forever. T9 froze, his wings twitching in genuine surprise. Oh, so that's how Tears of the Wise works? It's a literal main character cheat code. Whatever I say, they just drink the Kool-Aid. Damn, I feel like some kind of multi-level marketing guru right now. Who knew gaslighting was a dragon racial trait? A fire rabbit looked up, wiping its watery eyes. Great black dragon lord, how should we fight these enemies? We are too weak. We're basically just walking appetizers. T9 leaned in, emphasizing every word like a drill sergeant. Excellent question. The next thing you must do is simple. Train like demons. The forest transformed into a high-intensity boot camp. Rabbits were running hundreds of laps until their paws blurred. Cockatrices were hanging from branches doing thousands of pull-ups, and the boars practiced charging, splintering ancient trees into toothpicks. T9 looked up at the sky, his jaw set, thinking to himself, just wait. I'm going to win this gamble or die trying. Meanwhile, back on the bustling streets of Mercury Blue, life was totally normal until a random pedestrian pointed a trembling finger at the clouds. Guys? What the hell is that? A colossal, shimmering hourglass had manifested in the sky, glowing with a "you're screwed" kind of light. A booming, godlike announcement resonated through the atmosphere, declaring that the World Gamble game had begun with a countdown of 315,359,998 seconds. Across the globe, the lucky winners like Daniel and Jason began to flicker like a bad Wi-Fi connection. My body, what's happening? They gasped, their forms pixelating into digital dust as they were sucked across the void toward the starter villages. The players were arriving, and they had no idea they were about to face a dragon with a training camp and a serious attitude problem. The system's voice boomed across the sky like a celestial terms and conditions update, and the message was clear. Players, you are free to invade this world as you see fit. You have 10 years. T9 listened as the game rules were etched into the very fabric of reality. Rule 1 was a doozy. Once you're in, you're in. No logging out until you kick the bucket. After death, players get booted to the world square to sit in timeout and wait for resurrection. Rule 2, turn the invasion into a career. The longer you survive and the more missions you clear, the more invasion points you rack up to buy snacks, gear, or even shave time off your respawn clock. Rule 3, promise treasure chests scattered like confetti across the globe, filled with loot and tradable goodies. But it was Rule 4 that really put the pressure on. Initial resurrection takes 55 seconds, but every subsequent death doubles the wait. Cherish your life, the system mocked. Finally, Rule 5 dropped the bombshell. Time in game flows at a 1010 ratio, and if you manage to die in the world square, that's it. Permanent game over. True death. Back in the Silver Moon Forest, the countdown was ticking away. 315,359,997 seconds, and counting. A subordinate scurried up to T9, looking surprisingly proud. Master, the training is paying off. Even the Blackwater Great Python from the outskirts has joined the squad and is currently doing tail slap drills. T9 nodded, feeling like a proud, scaly coach. Good. Keep the pressure on. But the celebration was cut short. The system screen in his mind suddenly flared a violent, panicked red. Alert. Incoming players detected. Newbie village initialization was complete, and the world rules for the natives were now in effect. Rule 1. Players were being dropped into regions all over the map, gifted with a 1-week protection phase in their respective newbie villages. Rule 2. Any native creature meaning Tanin or his furry trainees that tried to wander into a newbie village would be teleported away and have their memories wiped like a bad hard drive. Rule 3. The treasure chest scavenger hunt had officially begun. Then came the location drop that made T9's heart skip a beat. Newbie Village Number 1, Sakura Bloom. Established on the Morgan Plains, right on the doorstep of the Silver Moon Forest. The players weren't just coming, they were moving in next door. Suddenly, a heavy wooden crate materialized out of thin air and slammed into the dirt right in front of T9's snout. What the? I've been turned into a literal loot guardian now? He peered inside, expecting legendary gear, but his face fell. Empty. So these are just reward containers? They only spawn the good stuff when a player pops the lid? T9 fumed, smoke puffing from his nostrils. First, I get isekai'd into this world as a giant lizard, and now I'm stuck babysitting empty boxes for the enemy? Not on my watch. He barked orders at the nearby predators. Grey Wolf, Cobra the rest of you. If you see any more of these gift boxes dropping in the forest, drag them all back to me. Every single one. The beast howled and hissed in unison. Yes, master. He then pivoted to his lead engineer. Barkley, Bring me everything your cobalt crew has been cooking up. Traps, poison, explosives, if it goes boom or makes someone's skin melt, I want it. Barkley bowed so low his nose hit the grass. Understood, master. Tenina muttered under his breath. System, is there a world map in this bargain bin UI? The system pinged back, host. Since the players have arrived, the world map has been updated. Unlocking it costs 10 system points. Tenine didn't even blink. Unlock it. The location of the newbie village popped up immediately, and Tenine rubbed his scaly chin. This is going to be one lopsided war. Players start weak, but there's a literal mountain of them. And now they get 7 days of God mode protection to gear up? Unfair. Then a slow, evil smirk spread across his face. But based on my years of gaming experience, newbie players all share one fatal, delicious weakness: curiosity. Before long, his minions returned, dragging dozens of empty chests through the undergrowth. Master, the loot boxes are collected. Tenine pointed a sharp claw at the pile. Open them all. Fill them with poison mist traps, jagged explosives, and every deadly surprise we've got. Then, go hide them in the bushes. Make it look natural. If it looks like a trap, you're doing it wrong. It needs to look like a lucky find. One of the cobalts tilted his head, confused. Master, why go to all this trouble for empty boxes? Tenina gave a sly, toothy grin that would make a shark nervous. Well, when guests come over, it's only polite to prepare a little welcome gift, right? He chuckled wickedly, the sound echoing through the trees. You want me to guard loot? Fine. I'll give them exactly what they're looking for. The system screen flickered again. Current system points, 3,827 times 3 net. Serena, 30. Evelyn, 40. Tenine suddenly paused mid-cackle, his eyes wide. Wait, why does my laugh sound exactly like a Disney villain's? Meanwhile, out on the sun-scorched Morgan Plains, the chosen ones were finding out that being a hero involves a lot more manual labor than the brochures promised. Daniel and Jason were drenched in sweat, hauling heavy bricks like unpaid interns to build the very walls meant to protect them. Jason's system interface flickered to life. Construction quest activated. Inventory, 100 wood, 100 stone. He scrolled through the menus with trembling fingers. World map, forum, party system, sensory adjustment, quest log searching for the one thing every gamer takes for granted. His face went pale. No logout button. This is real, he whispered, the weight of an entire world turn game finally sinking in. We're actually stuck here. Back inside the cool shadows of the dragon's den, the atmosphere was thick with a different kind of tension. Serena was hyper-focused, chanting incantations as she practiced her magic, while Evelyn sat nearby, resting her chin on her hand in a dark, brooding silence. Big sis must be furious with me, Evelyn thought, her mind drifting back to her narrow escape. It's my fault for running away with that jerk blade. Who would have thought that bastard would sell me to bandits just to save his own scrawny skin? She clenched her fists so hard her knuckles turned white, a murderous fire dancing in her eyes. If I ever see him again, I'll kill him with my own hands. Watching this from the sidelines, Tenine felt a literal shiver run down his spine. Man, girls these days are absolutely terrifying, he mused, backing away slowly. That glare alone could probably drop a level 50 boss. Seeking a safer vibe, he scurried over to Anna and handed her a cup of freshly brewed herbal tonic. Anna, let's not be like those two, okay? He said, his voice dropping into its most gentle guardian register. Drink this. It's the only way you'll stay strong and healthy. Anna beamed at him, accepting the cup with a smile so bright it almost hurt to look at. Thank you, Lord Dragon. Ting. Affection plus 10. The cozy moment was shattered as a cobalt scout came skidding into the lair, panting for breath. Master! One of the brave ones just stepped outside that weird glowing barrier. Tenine's face instantly darkened, his draconic pupils narrowing into slits. Oh? Looks like someone couldn't sit still for the full 7 days. Eager to start exploring the world, are we? He let out a low, rumbling chuckle that vibrated through the cave floor. Time to see if our welcome gifts are still in working order. On the edge of the Morgan Plains, a group of players was practically vibrating with overconfidence. Man, I can't believe leveling up is this easy, one cocky guy bragged, flexing his muscles. Just hauling bricks to build a house got me to level 5, his buddy chimed in, tossing a basic sword from hand to hand. Yeah, the newbie village is boring as hell. If we head into the forest, we're bound to find some real treasure, or at least some easy mobs to grind for XP. One guy in the back, clearly the voice of reason, nobody asked for, hesitated. Guys, leaving the protection zone this early is dangerous. Maybe we should head back? The others turned on him with the kind of glare is usually reserved for people who spoil movie endings. Listen, we were generous enough to let you tag along. You don't want to go? Stay behind. Sit in the dirt for 7 days and see how well you survive alone. Just don't expect us to carry you later. Another sneered, yeah, stick with us and we eat steak. Leave us and you're eating soup. Got it. The nervous player crumbled instantly. All right, fine. Then he spotted something glinting in the tall grass. Hey, I think there's a chest here, guys. Their eyes turned into literal dollar signs. Treasure chest. Jackpot. They scrambled over, fighting to be the first to pop the lids. But instead of epic loot, it was a literal clown car of nightmares. Giant snakes lunged at their throats. Primitive explosives detonated in their faces, and swarms of venomous bees turned the clearing into a high-pitched death trap. What the hell is in these things? One guy screamed, swinging his sword wildly at a bee the size of a pigeon. He looked around in a panic. Where'd those two run off to? The timid player was currently curled in a fetal position behind a bush, shivering like a leaf. Guys, where'd you go? Mommy? Then, out of the shadows, Tanin made his grand entrance. He didn't even have to breathe fire. He just stepped into the light, his massive black scales gleaming and his aura heavy enough to crush the grass. One of the players took one look at the legendary tear dragon looming over him, gave a tiny squeak, and literally died of a heart attack on the spot. Ting! System notification. Player killed. 'Cause terror. Reward plus 10 system points. Tenine blinked, genuinely unimpressed. Wait, he died just from the scare? That is pathetic. These are the heroes invading my world. One of Tenine's subordinates lunged into the bushes and dragged out the shivering survivor by his tunic. T9 leaned down, his hot, sulfuric breath ruffling the player's hair. You there, show yourself, he rumbled, his aura surging until the air felt like lead. Who are you, and why have you intruded into my territory? The player looked up, tears streaming down his face as he stammered the ultimate newbie lie. I'm just an adventurer. It's my first time here. I'm a tourist. Please don't eat me. Tenine narrowed his eyes, the vertical slits of his pupils pinning the player to the spot. You'd better not be lying. I'll take your head as a souvenir if I find out you're playing games with me. The player practically dissolved into a puddle of tears. I swear, I was just passing through. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I'm just a level 1 nobody. Tenine let out a long, smoky huff, waving a massive claw dismissively. Is that so? Well then, I'm sure you won't be doing anything foolish, like using a speed potion or a burrow spell to run away while my back is turned. Right? The warning was like a light bulb going off in the player's panicked brain. Speed potion? Oh right, the cash shop. He frantically opened his menu, dropped 200 of his hard-earned invasion points on a glowing blue vial, and chugged it so fast he nearly choked. A second later, he was a blur of dust trailing across the plains. A cobalt subordinate rushed over, pointing frantically. Master, the pink skin is escaping. Should we hunt him down? Tanin just smirked, watching the dust cloud fade into the distance. Relax, I knew he would. Let the little rat run back to his hole. Those 7 safe days are more than enough time for those players to build their own prison. I want them to feel nice and cozy before the walls close in. He chuckled darkly, the sound vibrating deep in his chest. Meanwhile, a female player, the last surviving member of the original cocky group, was trudging through the tall grass, looking thoroughly dejected. Damn it, rotten luck as always. Treasure chests, my ass. Nothing but snakes and spicy glitter. Then, her eyes locked onto a glimmering silver chest tucked under a bush. Her heart skipped a beat. Wait, maybe my luck is finally turning around. She reached for the lid, but a system prompt blocked her. Silver chests require a silver key to open. Purchase one now, for 1,000 invasion points. She winced, her wallet screaming in agony. 1,000 points for a key? This game is a total rip-off. Normally, you just kill the mini-boss, and the key drops automatically. She scanned the area and spotted the Guardian, a fire rabbit leader. Level 3. A predatory grin spread across her face. Huh, a rabbit? Only level 3? This is going to be easier than stealing candy from a baby. If I finish this furball off before the rest of the squad gets here, the loot is all mine. She drew her sword, eyes gleaming with greed. Die, little bunny. She lunged, but before her blade even whistled through the air, the rabbit performed a perfect mid-air roundhouse kick, that connected squarely with her jaw. "Gee, mother," she wheezed, spiraling into the dirt. As she scrambled to her feet, the rabbit didn't just hop away. It began to grow. Its muscles rippled and expanded until it was a bulky, bipedal beast of pure fury. "So," the rabbit rumbled in a voice far too deep for its ears, "you're the punk trying to loot my chest." Huh. Blood dripped from her nose as she stared up at the level 3 beginner monster that looked like it spent its weekends bench pressing boulders. "No, sir. I swear I wasn't. It was a misunderstanding." The rabbit didn't buy the apology for a second. It proceeded to use her like a human punching bag, pummeling her into the dirt until her HP bar was blinking red. "What the hell?" she thought, her brain rattling in her skull. "How is a level 3 this strong? This makes no sense. This isn't a game, it's a scam." As she tried to crawl away, gasping for air, a desperate thought crossed her mind. "Maybe I should call for help, but if the others see me getting my butt kicked by a bunny, I'll never live it down." The rabbit leader stood over the battered player, his massive furry arms crossed. "Open the chest," he rumbled with a toothy sneer, "and maybe, just maybe, I'll let you live." "Yes, sir. Right away, sir," she squeaked, her fingers trembling as she pulled up the shop menu. With a sob of financial agony, she hit confirm. Ting, 1,000 invasion points deducted. Silver key purchased. She jammed the key into the lock, praying for a legendary sword to save her life. Instead, the chest let out a cheerful click, followed by a very uncheerful boom. A high-grade explosive trap detonated right in her face, blowing her into digital confetti. Back on the Morgan Plains, the other players were blissfully ignorant, high-fiving each other as they finished their cozy cottages. "It's just like my dream house," one player cheered, admiring his handiwork as the system rained 1,000-point completion bonuses on them like candy. The festive mood was shattered when the lucky survivor from earlier came skidding into the village, wheezing like a broken accordion. "Dude, what happened to you? You look like you saw a ghost," a neighbor asked, pausing mid-brick lay. "Not good," the guy panted, clutching his chest. There's a what?" "A high-level slime? A mean squirrel." "A dragon!" he shrieked. "There's a massive black dragon out there! Run, everyone! Save yourselves!" The village went silent. Then, the whispers started. "Did he just say dragon? Has this kid finally snapped? Is he for real? This is a newbie zone, man. The devs wouldn't put a dragon in the tutorial." "It's true," the guy screamed, pointing a shaking finger toward the dark canopy of the Silver Moon Forest. "It's right there in the woods. It killed Gary in one hit. I had to burn 200 points on a speed potion just to outrun it." The crowd gasped. The leader of the construction crew stepped forward, his face turning grim. "If there really is a dragon and our newbie protection wears off in a few days, we're toast. Stop building houses. We need archer towers. We need walls. It's the only way we survive the week." A girl nearby burst into tears, hugging her freshly painted mailbox. "But this is my dream home. I built it myself." While the players were having a collective midlife crisis, Tenine was back in his cave, watching the drama from the sidelines. He looked over at Serena and Evelyn, who both looked like they were auditioning for a funeral. "What's wrong with those two?" Tenine whispered to Anna, gesturing toward the depressed mages. Anna looked up from her tonic, her voice eerily calm. "Sister Serena is frustrated because her magic training failed again. And Evelyn, well, she's just sitting there thinking about murder." Tenine's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. "Elimination?" she said that while smiling. He took a slow step back, sweat beading on his scales. "Crap. My sweet Anna has been corrupted. This cave is becoming a den of psychos." His thoughts were interrupted as a squad of cobalts came marching in, dragging a massive pile of wooden crates behind them. "Master! We brought back all the chests just like you asked." Tenine's sinister grin returned. "Perfect. Bring them over. We've got more surprises to peck before our guests decide to come over for a visit." Tenine stared at the mountain of loot the uninvited guests had left behind in their frantic scramble to escape. As he sorted through the crates, he found enough dried beef and smoked lamb legs to feed his crew for a month. But then, his eyes locked onto something far more valuable, a shimmering purple rank skill book titled Glacial Spike. "Purple rank? Are you kidding me?" Tenine's jaw practically hit the cavern floor. "These visitors are basically walking treasure chests." He dug deeper and pulled out a glowing blueprint for a fire arrow tower. But as he tried to activate it, a red error message blinked in his vision. "Conditions not met. Cannot be used." Tenine scratched his scaly chin, falling into deep thought. Is this restricted to the newcomers? Or is there some specific environmental requirement I'm missing? He didn't have long to ponder. Serena Ludi caught a glimpse of that water element skill book, and her eyes transformed into literal stars. She snatched it up and zoomed over to Tenine, clutching the book to her chest. Brother Tenine, she cooed, tilting her head and flashing him a weaponized, pretty please expression. Can I pretty please have this? It's exactly my style. Tenine's brain completely short-circuited. That face was a biological cheat code. How was a dragon supposed to say no to an elite tier ally? Oh, of course. Be my guest, he stammered, his expression turning into a goofy, doting mask as he practically melted on the spot. Serena's sweet facade vanished instantly, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated judgment. She stepped back, eyeing him like he was a bug on her windshield. What is wrong with you? Are you having some kind of weird midlife crisis? Gross. She tucked the book under her arm and started walking away. Anyway, I'm just borrowing this for a bit. Catch you later. Tanine stood there, frozen like a statue. A midlife crisis? She thinks I'm weird? His face cycled from shock to embarrassment to boiling dragon fury, but he forced himself to swallow it down with a massive gulp. Calm down, Tenine. Deep breaths. She's an SSR tier unit. You don't bench to heavy hitters just because they have a sharp tongue. Focus on the progression. As he tried to regain his dignity, a notification pinged. Serena Ludi's affection plus 20. Wait, so being a pushover is the key to her heart? That's a strange mechanic, but I'll take the points, he muttered. Stepping out of the lair to clear his head, he flew up to a nearby mountaintop to test his theory about the blueprint. System check. Host is currently in an open area. Detected. Fire arrow tower blueprint. Usage 5 times. Please designate a location to begin construction. Tenine grinned, his tail twitching with excitement. So, as long as I'm outside the house, the rules don't apply. It's just like a building simulator. He watched as a holographic model of a massive glowing tower projected into the air, waiting for his command. All he needed was a clear patch of land and a few unsuspecting heroes to act as target practice. To bring this fire arrow tower to life, the requirements were no joke. 10 tons of stone, 10 tons of wood, 20 workers, and 5 kilograms of food. But the real kicker was the racial synergy bonuses for the crew: humans, plus 20% building speed; cobalts, plus 20% tower defense. They know how to pack dirt like nobody's business. Gnomes, plus 20% tower mutation chance. Expect the unexpected, and possibly explosions. Dwarves, plus 10% to all tower attributes. The gold standard of craftsmanship. The fine print, however, made Tenine's wings twitch in irritation. Note: workers must be physically brought to the site by the host. Once they enter the designated area, construction will begin automatically. After completion, workers will have all related memories erased and be returned safely. Wait, so I'm the foreman and the bus driver? Tenine muttered, rubbing his snout. I have to personally lug 20 bodies up this mountain? Just then, a pathetic scraping sound echoed from the rocks below. A lone figure was wheezing, sobbing, and clawing his way up the steep incline. Finally, the figure crested the peak and collapsed into a heap of exhaustion. It was Barkley. Master! Barkley swears. Eternal loyalty. He gasped, his tongue lolling out. I made it. Woof. Tenine looked down at his most loyal and currently most dehydrated subordinate and immediately went into quest giver mode. Barkley, great timing. Go back down the mountain, round up 20 of the beefiest cobalts you can find, and bring them up here to build this fire arrow tower. Barkley stiffened, attempting a shaky salute. Yes, master. But before the word master even left his lips, his eyes rolled back, and he face-planted directly into the dirt. The poor guy was running on a 0% battery. Back at the Dragon's Den, a deceptive serenity filled the air. Serena and Evelyn were both out cold, though their dreams were clearly on opposite ends of the spectrum. Serena had a smug little grin on her face, mumbling something about being the greatest mage in history, while Evelyn was currently grinding her teeth and whispering threats to a pig that likely shared a name with her traitorous ex-boyfriend. But then, a much quieter, more heartbreaking sound caught Tenine's ear. Unlike the other two, little Anna was curled up in a tight ball, her shoulders shaking as she sobbed into her pillow. Go away, demon, she whimpered. Tenine's brow furrowed. Demon? He quickly scrolled through his internal monster encyclopedia. According to the lore, Demons were supposedly wiped off the map over 1,000 years ago. There shouldn't be a single one left in this world. Suddenly, Anna's eyes snapped open, but she wasn't seeing the cave. Her pupils were glowing, a haunting, blood-red hue as she relived a nightmare etched into her very soul. In her vision, a peaceful village and the surrounding forest were being swallowed by a literal sea of flames. Two horrific demons were rampaging through the streets, tearing through the villagers with mindless cruelty. A much smaller Anna stood in the middle of the chaos, her hands shaking so hard she couldn't even scream. "Mom? Dad?" she whispered through her tears. Then the horror peaked. She saw the faces of the monsters. The two demons were her own parents. Before a scream could escape her throat, a hand clamped firmly over her mouth. It was her older sister, her face pale but determined. "Come with me," she hissed, dragging Anna toward a heavy wooden cabinet. She shoved the little girl inside and knelt down, her hands trembling as she prepared to shut the door. "Stay inside, Anna. No matter what you hear, no matter what happens, do not come out." The sister tried to offer one last comforting look, but she never got to finish the sentence. A jagged strike pierced her from behind, and she coughed up a spray of crimson right in front of Anna's eyes. "Big sis, no!" Anna gasped, her world shattering. The demon stepped over the fallen sister, its shadow looming over the cabinet as it stared directly into Anna's hiding spot. The little girl scrambled backward, pressing her spine against the wood, but there was nowhere left to run. "No, please, no." Just as the demon reached in, a blinding, strange light erupted from Anna's chest. Her heart began to glow with the mysterious, ancient power that defied the game's logic. Driven by pure survival instinct, she screamed and lunged forward, unleashing that hidden force in a single, devastating burst. Back in the real world, Tenine hovered over the sleeping girl, his draconic face twisted with worry. Beads of sweat rolled down Anna's brow as her body twitched in the grip of that horrific nightmare. He had dumped a small fortune into her recovery. After days of high-grade potions and herbal remedies, her health bar had finally flickered back to a healthy green. But the math wasn't adding up. T9 frowned at the floating system stats. Even with all the treatment, her lifespan was still capped at a measly 63 days, and her experience bar hadn't budged an inch. "Is it heart failure?" he wondered, leaning in closer to check her vitals. "Or is there a bug in her character code?" Suddenly, Anna's eyes snapped open, but they weren't the warm brown eyes he knew. They were solid, bottomless black. She sat up with a mechanical sharpness that made Tenine jump back. "Anna, you're awake!" He didn't even get the words out before she lunged. Without a hint of hesitation, she slashed her hand across his massive chest. "Oh, mother!" Tenine howled as the sheer force of the blow sent him flying backward. He smashed into the stone wall of the lair, raining debris and dust everywhere. The ruckus was enough to wake the dead. Serena bolted upright, clutching her blanket to her chest like a shield. "What the hell? Tenine, what are you doing sneaking around in the middle of the night? Planning something perverted again?" Evelyn rubbed her eyes, blinking blearily at the hole in the wall. "Huh, did the mountain fall down?" Tanini was practically on the verge of tears, rubbing his bruised chest. "She's gone. Anna just hit me and bolted." Cut to a few minutes later, a massive black dragon was tearing through the pitch-black night sky, wings beating frantically against the clouds. Perched on his back, Serena and Evelyn gripped his scales for dear life, squinting against the wind. In the distance, the usually quiet, shimmering moonlit swamp was erupting like a geyser. Serena narrowed her eyes, pointing toward the chaos. "Over there, in the deep marsh." Tenine looked down, and his jaw nearly unhinged. There was Anna, tiny and barefoot, absolutely pummeling a giant crocodile with the kind of brutal strength you'd expect from an endgame boss. "Anna!" Tenine screamed in shock. He couldn't believe the UI. Her health bar was full, but it had turned a menacing, aggressive red. "What the hell? That's the swamp came in." "It's a tier 2, level 15 boss, and she's beating it like a soggy fish stick." As the crocodile let out a final, pathetic whimper, Anna's red bar began to drain at a terrifying speed. The black ink in her eyes receded, returning them to their normal color. She looked up at the massive silhouette in the sky, her voice a tiny thread. "Great, dragon. Lord?" Then her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed from pure exhaustion. "Oh, crap!" the three of them shouted in unison. Below, the half-conscious crocodile saw its chance. It opened its massive, toothy maws wide, ready to swallow the girl whole as she fell. Tenine didn't think. He tucked his wings and dove headfirst toward the beast. He opened his mouth and unleashed a torrent of white-hot flame directly into the caiman's face. The swamp hissed and sizzled as the water turned to steam. As the night air returned to a stunned silence, Tenine flared his wings, catching Anna in his talons just inches from the ground. He landed heavily, his chest heaving, as Serena and Evelyn slid off his back and rushed toward the unconscious girl. Tenine was pinned. The massive crocodile had ignored the initial blast, lunging from the muck and snapping its jagged jaws onto his wing, dragging him into the suffocating depths of the swamp. "You son of a cheap shot!" T9 roared internally, his bubbles rising to the surface in a frantic trail. This thing was a tank thick-skinned, fueled by pure swamp spite and fighting on its home turf. His fire breath was sputtering out underwater, and the croc's claws were raking across his belly, tearing through scales like wet parchment. "System," Teenine screamed in his mind. "Upgrade my scale durability, buff my claw strength, and give me an air sac for underwater breathing. Do it now." The system's calm, robotic voice was maddening. "Alert. This enhancement requires 1,000 system points. Current balance insufficient. Would you like to take out a high-interest loan?" "Yes, whatever, just do it." "No, loan must be repaid with 50% interest." "Proceed. Stop talking. Just do it." Warning. The transformation process may cause extreme physical distress. Tenine's eyes went bloodshot, and veins bulged beneath his scales as a white-hot agony surged through his nervous system. His strength flickered, and he began to sink deeper into the murky, cold water. The pain of the upgrade was actually worse than the crocodile's teeth. "It hurts. It hurts so much." Ting. System notification, 930 points deducted. Anna's affection plus 22. Serena and Evelyn 40. Up on the muddy bank, Serena was crouched low, peering into the bubbling black water with a look of genuine concern. "T9, you still alive down there?" she called out. Then, her expression shifted to one of sudden, opportunistic relief. "Wait, if he's gone, that means I don't have to return that water mage skill book, right?" Score. She'd barely finished the sentence when the swamp exploded. Tenine shot out of the water like a missile, his newly hardened claws flashing in the moonlight. He drove them straight through the crocodile's chest, pinning the beast. With a roar of pure vengeance, he grabbed the croc's jaws, pried them open with his buff strength, and unleashed a point-blank blast of white-hot fire directly down its gullet. "Burn in hell, you overgrown lizard." The crocodile's insides cooked instantly, and its charred, massive body slumped onto the mud, releasing a surprisingly savory, roasted aroma. Serena's stomach gave a loud, treacherous rumble. She blinked, her eyes fixated on the smoking carcass. "Actually, that smells incredible." The three of them, Tenine, Serena, and Evelyn, sat huddled around the smoking carcass, tearing into the roasted crocodile with the kind of primal hunger that only a midnight swamp battle can produce. Once they were stuffed, they sprawled out on the damp grass, bellies full and spirits high for the first time in days. Ting. System notification. Host has slain the giant swamp crocodile. Plus 60 system points obtained. Item acquired. 1 magic core. Recovery rate increased due to consumption of a high-tier beast. Tenine blinked as a dull, grayish orb materialized in his claw. A lone owl called out in the distance. "Owemalan, I didn't think that oversized handbag would actually drop something useful." He frowned, looking at the orb and then back at the unconscious girl. Is this why she ran out here in the first place? Was her body instinctively hunting for mana? He scurried over to check on Anna. Her health bar had finally flickered back to a steady green, but then the system slapped him with a red text alert that made his blood run cold. Status: critically ill, frail condition. Life expectancy 24 hours. Tenine's expression darkened instantly. System: what is wrong with her? Give me a real diagnosis. System response: diagnosis function unavailable. Please consult a qualified healer. It felt like a bucket of ice water to the face. He felt small, powerless, and trapped in a body that was supposed to be a god-tier dragon. He clenched his fists, his claws digging into the dirt. I have to figure out what this illness is, and why she suddenly turned into a black-eyed berserker with enough power to level a forest. A priest, he muttered, turning to the others. Serena, do you know where we can find a high-level priest? Someone who actually knows what they're doing? Serena shrugged, picking a piece of crocodile out of her teeth. No idea. I just followed the mercenary team around. I bought whatever medicine I could carry, but I never hung out with the holy types. Evelyn suddenly perked up, her eyes clearing. I do, she recalled, her voice dropping an octave. There's a high-ranking priest in the kingdom of Andreas. But look at yourself, Tenine. A giant black dragon strolling into the capital. That's not a medical visit. That's an invitation for every hunter in the kingdom to turn you into a set of luggage. Tenine glanced at the embers still flickering in his claws. Fair point. I'm a bit too boss fight for city life. Then he snapped his fingers as a memory surfaced. Wait, I still have those 6 transformation potions. They should last about half a day each. If we move fast and I keep my head down, we can make it in and out before the guards even know I'm not human. Evelyn misread Tenine's silent calculating, her expression souring into a scowl. Men, she thought bitterly. It doesn't matter if they're human or monsters. They're all selfish jerks. The second things get tough, they're ready to ditch you to save their own skin. Tears actually started welling up in her eyes as she braced for the inevitable, "You're on your own" speech. Tenine tilted his head, completely oblivious to her internal melodrama. Hey, why are you just standing there looking like a leaky faucet? Let's move. We've got a priest to find. Evelyn blinked in total shock. He's actually helping? System notification, Evelyn affection plus 40. Current affection, 0, phase 1 achieved. Congratulations, host plus 300 system points. With both Serena and Evelyn clinging to his back, Tenine soared into the night sky, his mind wandering. Did her affection jump because of my heroic, manly, glorious battle back there? Must have been the way I handled that croc. He grumbled under his breath. Only 300 points, though? That's all I get for being legendary? System, you better not be pocketing my commission behind my back. The system's cold voice chimed in. Reminder, female character is A-rank special tier. Affection must reach phase 2 to unlock special abilities. Note, 350 points deducted from previous loan. Outstanding balance, 9,000 points. Tynine practically spat blood mid-flight. 9 Twassen? Serena flinched at the sudden turbulence. What? What's wrong? Are we crashing? He turned his head away, muttering darkly to himself. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just realized that even in another world, I'm still living paycheck to paycheck and drowning in debt. Great. Soon, the sprawling lights of the royal city of Andreas appeared on the horizon. T9 descended into a secluded grove just outside the massive stone gates and carefully laid the unconscious Anna on the grass. As they approached the city under the cover of their transformation, they found the entire capital buzzing with a massive celebration. Crowds lined the streets, waving flags and screaming at the top of their lungs. The gallant knight, Blade, is so brave, a woman shrieked. And so handsome, too. I heard he single-handedly wiped out the Gale bandits and even chopped off the leader's head. In the midst of the cheering, Tanine's brow twitched so hard it nearly fell off his face. Gale bandits? Single-handedly? Wait, he hissed, his eyes narrowing. The Gale bandits? That was me. I did that. Who is this Blade guy stealing my XP, my street cred? Tenine looked at the motionless dog man and felt a rare, tiny twinge of dragon guilt. Actually, you know what? Forget I said anything. Tomorrow morning is fine. Let's just call it a day. Pushing his petty grievances aside, he carried the unconscious Anna toward the western edge of the city. Following Evelyn's directions, he found the worn-down wooden cabin with the tree of white flowers out front. Is Priest Norbu in? He called out, knocking firmly. Silence. Maybe he's old and hard of hearing, Tenine muttered. He didn't have time for a polite wait. Every second was a tick off Anna's 24-hour clock. Without a second thought, he kicked the door right off its hinges. Inside, a girl sitting on the floor nearly jumped out of her skin, her mouth hanging open in pure shock. Tenine scratched the back of his head, offering a sheepish, awkward grin. Sorry about the door. We're looking for Priest Norbu. The girl, a priest in training named Barbara, quickly regained her composure and flashed a surprisingly sweet smile. No worries. Just pay the 50 silver coins for the door repair, and we're officially good. She stood up, dusting off her robes. So, what do you need the old man for? Medical help, Tenine replied urgently. Barbara's smile immediately vanished. Oh, bad timing. After the old guy failed to cure Prince Andreas's, private problem, he decided to go on a very long, very sudden vacation. Tenine's heart sank. Do you have any idea where he went or when he'll be back? Sorry, no clue, Barbara sighed. But then her eyes locked onto Anna in Tenine's arms, and they lit up like lanterns. Whoa, is that a star elf? Before Tenine could react, she was darting around them, poking at Anna's pointed ears. Too cute, so soft. She leaned in uncomfortably close to Anna's face, her tone suddenly turning somber. But she looks like she's at death's door. Tenine blinked. Wait, you're a priest too? Yep, Barbara beamed, puffing out her chest. Still in training, but I've got a knack for diagnostics. Then can you tell what's wrong with her? Tenine asked, the words tumbling out. Last night, she went into a berserker rage and then just passed out cold. Barbara pointed to a glowing stone slab in the corner. Put her on the healing altar first. As soon as T9 laid her down, Barbara didn't just pray, she climbed onto the altar, hugged Anna tight, and proceeded to lick her cheek before pressing her ear firmly against Anna's chest. T9's face turned beet red as he watched the display. Is that standard priest procedure? He wondered. No wonder the prince never got cured. This girl is a total weirdo. Suddenly, Barbara sat up, her playful demeanor replaced by a grave, heavy expression. Found it, she said, her voice dropping an octave. There's a curse. A really nasty one. I can sense the origin point. It's lodged deep within her heart. Everything else, the rage, the fainting, is just a side effect. T9's eyes widened, his heart hammering against his ribs. A curse? Barbara nodded, her expression uncharacteristically grim. Yeah, a powerful one. It's a parasitic loop. It drains the victim's strength, and when it's triggered, it forces them into a berserker rage. That frenzy burns through their remaining life force, like a forest fire. So you're saying if she regains even a tiny bit of strength, she'll just snap again, and the cycle will kill her faster? T9's voice was barely a whisper. Exactly, Barbara confirmed, popping a piece of candy into her mouth. That's pretty much the gist of it. Can you cure it? T9 asked, leaning in so close he could smell the incense on her robes. Barbara shook her head slowly. Sorry, I'm not high level enough. I can suppress the symptoms for now, but if her body starts resisting the medicine, she's in serious danger. To actually break the curse, you've only got two real options. First, find and kill the one who cast it. Second, remove and replace the affected organ entirely. She reached out, her finger tracing a line down T9's chest and tapping his sternum with a playful yet sharp precision. The best option? A dragon's heart. T9 froze, a cold sweat breaking out under his human skin. System status. Current points. 9,000. Det Anna affection. 22 Toonie. Serena affection. 50 Evelyn affection. 0 damn, T9 thought, his mind racing. She actually sniffed it out. Is this girl part bloodhound or what? He let out a nervous, forced laugh. Haha, a dragon's heart? That's, quite the specific ingredient. Not exactly something you find at the local grocery store. Isn't there any other way? Barbara looked at him seriously, her eyes narrowing as if she were seeing right through his transformation. Other methods? Well, if you could find the legendary Great Spirit Spring and have her soak in it, that might temporarily freeze the curse's progress. But that spring dried up centuries ago. Your only other bet is the Lamdong Empire in the northern continent. They have a high priest who can perform a major purification ritual. But she glanced back at the pale girl on the altar. Your companion doesn't look like she has enough time for a cross-continental road trip. T9 was left speechless. The clock was ticking, his bank account was in the negatives, and the only known cure was currently beating inside his own chest. Barbara suddenly snapped her fingers as if a light bulb had finally flickered on in her eccentric brain. Oh right, witches! You could try finding a witch. They've always got those alternative healing methods that doctors hate, though they're notoriously antisocial. I've heard they frequent St. Ulst. T9's mental map was spinning. St. Ulst witches, are you sure? Look, before we go on a supernatural scavenger hunt, just use your healing magic to get her stamina back up. Then we can brainstorm. Barbara's cheeks turned a bright shade of pink. Well, okay. Hang on a sec. She began frantically flipping through a dusty, dog-eared book. T9 leaned over her shoulder, his eyes narrowing. What are you looking at? It was a beginner's handbook on healing magic, specifically the introduction chapter. Calm down, Barbara muttered, her eyes darting across the pages. It's a first time for me, too. No need to worry. Total professional over here. She's definitely talking to herself more than me, T9 thought, a cold sweat breaking out on his neck. Despite the DIY vibes, Barbara actually managed to pull it off. She began chanting, and a soft light enveloped the altar. A moment later, Anna's eyelids fluttered. Anna, you're awake! T9 cheered, leaning in. Anna blinked, her voice small and raspy. Great. Black Dragon? Where am I? We're in the city of Andreas, T9 explained softly. You fainted back in the swamp, so I brought you here for treatment. Barbara's head whipped around, her eyes sparkling with a new energy. Black Dragon? She let out a loud, belly-shaking laugh. I knew it! I knew you weren't just some guy with weird eyes. And this little spirit is with you too? You've gotta be that Black Dragon everyone's talking about. The one who got jumped by the hero party a few days ago. T9 tensed up, his muscles coiling under his human skin. So, what's the move? You going to scream for the guards? Barbara immediately smoothed her robes and put on her most holy and pure expression. Oh heavens, no. I won't report you. As a priest, my calling is to help anyone in need, regardless of their scale count. She turned around and began rummaging through a toolbox, clanking around with various metal objects. When she turned back, she was holding a heavy iron hammer and a pair of rusty pliers, a slightly terrifying grin on her face. I'm currently specializing in external healing magic, she chirped. Honestly, you don't even need mana for a heart transplant if your grip is steady enough. If you want to do the swap right now, I'll even give you a 20% first-time patient discount. Interested? Tenine stared at the hardware in her hands. This doesn't sound like magic, it sounds like a back alley chop shop. He cleared his throat, backing away slowly while shielding Anna. Alright, why don't you go sanitize your tools? We just need a moment to get mentally prepared for the discount surgery. Anna lifted her head, her eyes wide with innocent confusion. Heart transplant? What's that? Before she could get a horrifying explanation involving pliers and a 20% discount, Tenine clamped a hand over her mouth and hauled her toward the exit. Shush! Don't listen to this scary lady. We're leaving, he muttered to himself as they scrambled out. Seriously? She has to look up basic healing in a 4Dummies book? I'm not letting her near anyone's chest cavity. Once they were safely outside the city walls of Andreas, Anna curled up on the grass, looking small and fragile. Tenine knelt beside her. What's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable again? Anna looked up, her voice trembling. Great dragon, is my illness really incurable? Tenine didn't hesitate. He puffed out his chest, trying to look as legendary as possible. It's just a tiny curse, Anna. I swear on my honor as a dragon, you will get better. Anna's eyes shimmered. Dragon, I didn't expect you to swear for me. Thank you, great black dragon. System notification, Anna's affection, +5. Current affection, 250. She reached out, grabbing a fold of his cloak. But, you have to promise me, if saving me ever puts you in danger, you must let me go. Promise? Tenine gave her a head pat that was more of a clumsy claw rub. Don't worry about that. I'll find a way to break the curse, even if I have to fight the world for it. Suddenly, a golden screen flickered to life in his peripheral vision, pulsing with a strange energy. System announcement. A special female NPC has sent a summoning invitation to you. Do you accept? Tenine froze. A summoning invitation? From who? He glanced at his stats, the numbers mocking him. System status. Points. 9,000. Det. Anna affection. 250. Serena affection. 50. Evelyn affection. 0. Meanwhile, far across the continent, inside the silent marble sanctuary of the Holy Kingdom of Olst, a different scene was unfolding. A blonde woman in ornate priestess robes stood before a faceless goddess statue. She raised a staff encrusted with jewels and began an ancient, rhythmic chant. O great goddess, I beseech you, descend your divine blessing and bring forth a protector. A brilliant, blinding light surged from the staff, illuminating the entire hall, only to flicker and die out like a spent candle. The woman slumped, her face a mask of bitter disappointment. Failed again? Is the goddess not listening? Back on the outskirts of Andreas, Tenine was still staring at the blinking accept, decline button. He watched the timer tick down, but he didn't move. I'd love to see who's calling, he thought, looking down at the pale girl resting against his leg. But there are more important things to deal with right now. I've got a curse to break and a dragon-sized debt to pay. T9 stood before the newly completed war machine, watching as the system overlay flickered into his vision, hovering over the heavy timber and cold stone. It was a level 1 basic rocket tower, but it looked anything but basic. The structure was a beast, clad in reinforced oaken stone that looked like it could take a battering and still last for seconds. He squinted at the tactical data. A firing range of 1,500 meters, enough to reach out and touch someone from across the valley, and a soldier capacity of 5 units to keep the gears turning. But the real stars of the show were the skills. Incendiary payload and structural breach. This thing wasn't just designed to kill soldiers, it was designed to erase their houses from the map. Not bad for efficiency, Tenine muttered, his golden eyes sweeping over the massive launcher. That Mutt Barkley really is a construction genius. Looks like we can get the other 4 towers on the schedule ahead of time. He watched the crew of cobalts scurrying around the base, their tails twitching with a mix of pride and terror. In full automatic mode, it takes 10 seconds to launch just 1 missile. That's painfully slow, he grumbled, scratching his scaly chin. But let's see if the punch matches the wait time. Barkley, set the target to the Ruby Peak. Barkley saluted with newfound vigor, his ears pinning back. Yes, sir. locking on now. A massive projectile, engulfed in his screaming sheath of raging crimson flames, tore through the air like a fallen star. A split second later, a deafening explosion rocked the forest floor, sending a shockwave that rattled Tenine's very teeth. An umbrella of thick black smoke and jagged debris blanketed the sky as the entire summit of Ruby Peak was literally deleted. Tenine stood there, staring in absolute shock at the smoking crater in the distance. Damn, so that's a rocket tower. It's like a medieval version of a tactical nuke. No wonder the firing rate is slow. It's basically the Westwind Express in a wooden box. He watched the dust settle, his mind already racing with pro-gamer strategies. The critical hit rate is insane. If the workers who built it were different, say, gnomes or dwarves, would the results be even crazier? He began pacing, his tail twitching with excitement. What if I swapped out the basic timber for enchanted obsidian? I could turn this forest into an unraidable fortress before those players even finished their first week of protection. Tenine's mind was already whirling with the possibilities of a high fantasy arms race. He turned to Barkley, his voice dropping into a conspiratorial whisper. Barkley, bring me 20 of those fire hellhounds. I've got an experiment that might just change the way we do business. Barkley, always the eager soldier, gave a sharp bark of compliance. Yes, master. Right away. A short while later, Tenine led the pack of snarling, lava-furred hounds to the base of the massive structure. He gestured toward the narrow entrance with a flick of his claw. All right, you mutts, get inside. Let's see what happens when we mix fire breathers with heavy artillery. As the hounds scrambled into the tower's barracks, a glowing system alert pinged into Nine's mind. Capacity reached. 20/20 soldiers. Special unit detected. The rocket tower will now undergo a soul-linked transformation. Proceed? Proceed, Tenine said, a sly, toothy grin spreading across his face. He played enough base defense games to know that synergy was king. The tower groaned, its wood shifting and its stone glowing with a faint, infernal orange light. But when the first shot was loaded, Tenine's jaw dropped. The massive, jagged arrows he had seen before were gone. Narrowing his eyes at the stat screen, the range is still too short and the reload speed is glacial. I need more power. He tapped the air, bringing up the upgrade menu. System, what do I need to take this thing to level 2? The response was immediate and cold. Upgrade requirement, 10 level 3 Demon Beast magic cores. T9 reached into his spatial storage and pulled out the dull blue-tinged core he'd scavenged from the swamp. This is just a low-level core from that magma crocodile, he murmured, tossing it in his palm. Level 3 beasts aren't exactly hanging out at the local watering hole around here. He looked toward the jagged, snow-capped peaks looming in the distance. Looks like I'm going on a midnight hunt. The Silver Moon Mountains are the only place with enough high-level monsters to fuel this project. He set his jaw, the reflection of the fiery towers dancing in his pupils. It was time for the Dragon Lord to remind the mountain monsters who was at the top of the food chain. T9's grand tactical visions were suddenly shattered by Anna's voice drifting from the mouth of the cave. Mr. Great Dragon, please come quick. Serena and Evelyn are fighting. T9's head snapped toward her, but instead of worry, his eyes began to shine with a very specific, delusional brightness. Fighting? He immediately began to construct a high-budget, soft-focused daydream in his mind. In his imagination, he saw Evelyn gritting her teeth, her hand dramatically gripping Serena's mage sash as they tumbled gracefully. Serena was blushing, clutching her chest and whispering, "Please, don't." Then, the mental movie shifted. Serena was playfully pinching Evelyn's cheek while the latter lay on the ground, sobbing into T9's arms. Big brother, great dragon. It hurts right here, he imagined her wailing, while Serena pouted and grabbed his other arm, whining, "She started it." T9 stood there, a goofy, doting smile plastered on his face, floating on cloud 9. A little disagreement between mages is fine. Healthy even, he thought. But Anna's voice grew more frantic, pulling him back from his fantasy. "Mr. Great Dragon, if you don't break them up soon, I think your lair is actually going to explode." What? T9's eyes bugged out as the realization hit him like a cold bucket of swamp water. He clutched his head in frustration and let out a strangled yelp. Damn it, I forgot. They aren't just girls, they're high-level mages. He and Anna bolted back toward the cave, but the scene inside was far less dramatic anime and far more back-alley brawl. There was no graceful tumbling. Serena and Evelyn were locked in a death grip, frantically pulling each other's hair and screeching. "Stop fighting!" T9 roared, his voice echoing off the stalactites. "If you want a scrap, take it outside. You're going to bring the roof down." But the two mages were seeing red. They completely ignored him. sparks of mana beginning to hiss between them. Tenine's temper finally snapped. With a low, guttural growl, his human skin shredded away as he surged into his massive dragon form. He stomped between them, his heavy claws acting like a living wall as he physically pried them apart and shoved them to opposite ends of the cavern. Both of you, stop. Right. Now. The sheer weight of his draconic aura finally silenced the room. Serena and Evelyn slumped against the walls, panting and disheveled. Once the dust settled and the air stopped crackling with stray magic, Anna stepped forward cautiously. Great dragon. They were arguing over the Ice Mage skill book, she whispered, pointing at the discarded manual on the floor. Serena failed her practice session and Evelyn, well, she saw it and made a comment. Then the hair pulling started. Tenine's blood was practically simmering under his scales. Fighting over a manual, a book, he let out a puff of smoke that singed the cave ceiling. This is my territory, my cave, my rules. You will obey my commands, he warned, his voice rattling the loose stones. Then, seeing their disgruntled faces, his tone did a complete 180, softening into a weary plea. Look, if you absolutely must scrap, do it with your bare hands. No spells, no explosions, and for the love of the goddess, no property damage. Use your fists, like civilized people. Serena and Evelyn both let out a synchronized huff, crossing their arms and looking in opposite directions. They were still fuming, but the dragon boss had spoken, so they suppressed their magical auras for now. As night fell over the Silver Moon Forest, the typical evening crickets were drowned out by a rhythmic thud, thud. Serena was outside, using a massive, unsuspecting tree as a punching bag to vent her internal crisis. Damn it, why can't I get this ice magic right? She hissed, her knuckles turning white. I am not a failure. Every punch she landed sent a physical vibration through the mountain, causing a rain of jagged rocks to drop directly onto Tenine's head back inside the cave. Clunk, crack, thud. Osh, mother! Tanina came scrambling out of the cave, tears literally streaming down his face as he clutched a head covered in rapidly growing lumps. Stop! In the name of all that is scaly, stop it. Serena paused, her fist inches from the splintering bark, and looked at him with an icy stare. What? Didn't you say to take the fighting outside? Tenine whimpered, rubbing a particularly painful bump. It's just a little hair-pulling match, Serena. There's no need to be so angry that you're out here at midnight trying to relocate a forest. People and dragons are trying to sleep. Serena's tough facade cracked, her shoulders slumping. I feel like a total failure, she whispered, looking at her trembling hands. Tenine sighed, his frustration melting into a rare moment of genuine mentorship. Listen, he advised gently. If the main road is blocked, why keep slamming your head against the gate? Take a smaller path, one that no one else has bothered to walk. Serena tilted her head, her big, curious eyes searching his. A path no one has taken? Like what? Tenine leaned in, his voice dropping to a gravelly, conspiratorial whisper. I've watched you. I see that fiery, stubborn spirit of yours. You aren't built for standard textbook spells. Honestly, you'd be a natural practicing dark magic. Serena recoiled as if he'd suggested she eat a raw toad. Dark magic? That's for non-humans and monsters. It definitely doesn't suit a refined lady like me. Tenine's golden eyes glinted in the moonlight. Is that so? I've got news for you, Serena. I think you're a lot more different from the average human than you'd like to admit. Feeling a rare spark of genuine kindness from the big lizard, Serena's defensive walls finally crumbled. Thanks for coming out here just to comfort me, she murmured, her voice losing its sharp edge. System notification, Serena's affection plus 50. Current affection, 100. Phase 1 milestone reached. The next morning, the sunlight filtering through the canopy of the Silver Moon Forest didn't bring peace, it brought predators. Hidden deep in the brush of the middle layer, a group of winged women harpies were crouched low, their talons digging into the dirt as they watched a clearing full of fire hellhounds. The brown-haired girl in the group licked her lips. Leader, look at that fire hellhound. It's so big, so plump. Yeah, another chimed in, her stomach giving a traitorous growl. I bet it's delicious. I can practically taste the roasted ribs from here. A third harpy wasn't even looking at the meat. Her eyes were glued to a shimmering golden band around one of the hound's necks. Forget the steak. Look at that necklace. It's gorgeous. I want it. But the harpy leader wasn't as easily distracted. Her brows furrowed as she scanned the clearing. Something is wrong, she thought. Since when do forest hounds get this fat? These rabbits look like they've been eating 3-course meals every day. In jewelry? Since when do monsters wear accessories? She shook off the suspicion. Whatever. No matter how weird they are, a ground dweller is no match for a harpy. She turned to her squad, her voice a sharp whisper. I've heard rumors of a dragon in these woods, so keep your eyes peeled. On my mark, we dive. 1, 2, 3. The harpies erupted from the bushes, wings flapping with a thunderous crack as they dove toward the clearing, talons extended. Heh 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 heh. Come to mama, little bunnies. You're going straight into my belly. But the little bunnies didn't scatter. Sensing the overhead threat, the fire hellhounds snapped into a combat stance. In a blur of orange fur and popping joints, their small, cute frames surged and expanded, transforming into tall, muscle-bound warriors of flame. The hunters had just realized, a second too late, that these weren't appetizers, they were the bouncers. The scene turned from a hunt into a horror movie in a heartbeat. The harpies, who had been diving with visions of roasted ribs, suddenly looked like parakeets trying to pick a fight with a brick wall. The transformed fire hellhounds didn't just grow, they became towering walls of muscle and flame. Before the lead harpy could even blink, one of her sisters was sent hurtling through the canopy by a massive, furry fist. Help! She shrieked, her wings flapping uselessly as she broke several branches on her way out of the clearing. The leader's bravado vanished instantly. It's a trap! It's over! We can't win R1, she screamed, but as they flared their wings to retreat, the sky itself seemed to collapse. A massive weighted net dropped from the hidden boughs above, tangling their feathers and slamming the entire squad into the dirt. A short while later, back inside the dragon's den, Tenini stood over the bundled net of disgruntled birdwomen like a fisherman, admiring a particularly noisy catch. The harpy leader looked up at the massive dragon, her eyes welling with genuine tears. Great dragon, please, we didn't mean to offend you. It was just hunger, she sobbed, her wings twitching beneath the ropes. She explained their plight a week ago. A vicious group of stag eagles from the far side of the Silver Moon Forest had invaded their cliffs, stealing their dens, eating their mountain goats, and slaughtering their kin. T9 scratched his snout, falling into thought. The far side of the forest, huh? That means there's likely another newbie village established over there too. The players must be pushing the local monsters out of their territory and right into mine. The harpy leader, desperate and disheveled, bowed as low as the net would allow. Please, help us reclaim our home. If you save our kin, I swear to lead my people into your service. We will give you all our mountain goats and our absolute loyalty. Tenai looked down at the girl, his draconic features softening into a look of mild concern. I understand your reasoning, he rumbled. But I have to ask, of all the times to attack, why did you choose to hunt my firehounds while they were, busy mating? The harpy leader blinked, her beak dropping open in pure confusion. Mating? Tenine sighed, observing the leader whose name tag read Hannah. At level 17, these harpies were the perfect answer to his lack of aerial intelligence. Their speed was top tier, and their high-pitched crow calls were notorious for confusing and charming unsuspecting players. Very well, T9 said, raising a sharp obsidian claw toward Hannah's forehead. I am T9 Yuling, and steadfast. I accept your request. With a quick flick, a single drop of glowing dragon blood fell from his claw onto Hannah's brow. It didn't smear. It dissolved instantly into her skin like a hot coal. Hannah's entire body shuddered as a fiery red gleam flashed in her eyes, marking the soul bond. She bowed her head to the floor, her voice now steady and reverent. Yes, my lord. Your will is our command.